we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
SOR headquarters. And let me tell you, tonight's show is going to be absolutely amazing. If you don't know Michael Schratt, well, you will after tonight. You will YouTube absolutely everything this gentleman has. I'm going to tell you right now, even way before I ever met Michael, this man is my hero, my mentor, and I have had the privilege of meeting him a couple of times, and I'm so grateful I'm able to call him a friend. And we will get to Michael here momentarily, but his research into avionics is second to none. Second to none. Nobody beats this guy. Not a soul on the planet. And you're going to find out why here in just a few minutes. Let's get to the roll call here. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Acreon taking home the silver. The gorgeous Dirt Road with the bronze medal. High stunning cosmic floor. Joshua, good to see you, man. Grand Paul Hall and Dirty Filth. The Michael Leger. Yes, the Michael Leger. Jack Clark, good to see you, my friend. Ann B is here. Ann B will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Steam Train Mark is here from Australia. He'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the left of the studio, to the left. Wes H., good to see you, my friend. And Commonwealth Andrew, good morning to you. James Smith, the gorgeous Kathy Evans, the stunning Tina Smith. Dim, how are you, man? Downshift, Worsley, good to see you guys. Thank you for coming on in. The gorgeous and talented Kira, the stunning Aussie Ange, there she is. Double Tim, thank you for joining us, my friend. $5,900. Brown Dot Flop, looking lovely tonight. And who else do we got in the roll call here? We have our man Nicola. Good to see you. 5,900. I think I just said you, but that's okay. We can say it again. Tits McGee is here, filling in for the vacationing Veronica Corningstone. Simon Condon, good to have you back. Who else do we have? Bullenium, always a pleasure to have you here. TMI, thanks for coming on in. And the gorgeous Pinzert Flactum, nice to have you back. Sovereign Farts, hope you're ripping a good night here, man. Thank you for coming on in. And Mr. Lurkslot, good to see you. Eris Mana, always a pleasure. The gorgeous Avi May, Gnome Squatch, the stunning Cryptid Huntress. And who else do we have? Boss Monster, how are you, my friend? And Luscious Jewels, always a pleasure to have Luscious Jewels here. The gorgeous Jenny and Occult Journeys. Hey, Darcy Weir, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see that you are here, my man. How's your beard doing? How's your beard? I mean, let's just be honest. You pack a good beard, Darcy. I mean, for a guy who's literally, 5'2", you have the beard of a 6'8" giant. Let's just be honest there. You do. And I know you're going to tell me to shut up right now, but that's okay. That's okay. The gorgeous Pam Smith, welcome back as the chat room fills on up here. We got about a minute to go here before we are going to launch. Stu Gerson, how you doing? Nice to have you here. Yes, it is Michael Schratt, the Michael Schratt. Paul Vidal, how you doing, man? Nice to have you here. And always a pleasure. Let's see, who else do we have? I know the gorgeous and talented Nicole Sakic is somewhere out there. She's tuning in. She just hasn't joined the chat room yet. Hi, Nicole. How are you? Let's start the radio side of things because that's kind of important. R&R looking lovely tonight. Mark Sanchez, good to see you. And remember, the Super Chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. The Wheat Queen, Manitoba Becky. There she is. Richard Elmore. Thank you for joining us. We are going to have a great night, people. Great night. Super Chat is open. The store is open. By the way, for those having troubles buying swag, I am working on it. It's a WooCommerce issue. We are working on it right now. So I did inquire. So I know there's a few of you who want to get some stuff and you haven't been able to. We're going to try and fix it. Typical Watch, how are you? By the way, all right, we all know what's going on in the world right now between Russia and Ukraine, them Russian bastards coming after us. Yes, I'm Ukrainian. Yes, my great-grandfather's brother was killed by the Bolshevik Revolution. I'm a little pissed off right now, but that's okay. Today was a big day in Canada, too. The Emergency Act is gone. Do me a favor. Horns up. From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'm telling you, tonight, power show. Michael Schratt is here. Yes, he's an aviation historian, and he has a new book out called Dark Files that you can check on out. We're going to learn all about this new book tonight. Then in hour 3, we got a great story from the swamp, courtesy of Swamp Dweller, and we have our good friend, the fedora-wearing John Hudson, back for the UFO report. Shirky Poo's got the news as well. Now, I wrote out a nice intro for our guest, but I'm going to tell you all right now, I'm going to be fangirl all night long because literally there are very few people in this world, especially in the UFO dark projects world, that I believe are as brilliant as our guest tonight. And I'm going to read this. I'm just going to say an intro right off the top of my head because Michael Schratt, our guest tonight, is a hero and a mentor of mine. I never met him. I had found his information a few years ago, and literally I listened to every little piece of information that I could find on this man. He is brilliant. He's an eloquent speaker. He speaks with knowledge and absolutely everything. And you guys, our listeners, are in for a treat tonight because Michael has a brand new book out called Dark Files, and it's all about UFOs. He goes deep into UFOs tonight. And I want you guys to just sit back and let it sink in, because when Michael speaks, he speaks of true research. There's no woo. He allows the facts to tell the facts. He's got a brand new YouTube channel called Blue Room Media that I think you guys need to check on out. All right. It is worth the subscribe. Michael is, there are not enough good words to say about our guest tonight. Michael Schratt. You know, I know you don't take compliments very well, but I'm telling you, that one was from the heart. It's the way I feel about you. I've got to befriend you, and I take that very seriously. Thank you again for coming back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Dave, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. And you're a good soul. You're a good soul.
Thank you, my friend. You've been busy lately. I mean, you had to, for a couple of years there, take a little bit of a step back from the entire UFO and black project world because of the job that you have. I believe it's in the aviation industry, and we don't need to talk about that. But now you're back with a brand new book that we're going to get into. My head is spinning here because I love it when you're on, and I just get so many questions. But I'm going to slow it down here a second and let our audience, who may not know you very well, how did you become an aviation historian, and one that is, very well trusted within the entire aviation and UFO community?
Okay. How this all began, when I was 6 years old, my dad used to take me to a place called Victory Air Museum. And this was kind of in the suburbs of Chicago. And what they had here were these derelict, dilapidated, disrepair, left for dead World War II aircraft. They had a PBY Catalina there. They had a P-47 there. But the aircraft had this ghostly aura about them. They just had this mystique about them because all the tires were flat. All the paint was chipped. The windows were cracked and opaque. There was weeds growing up through the wheel wells. And that's what started my interest in aviation. That's what really started me on my path. This is from a very early age. So my whole life has been a crusade about aviation. And then living next to OSHKOSH, which is the world's largest air show, I had the opportunity to be only 2.5-hour drive away. So I went to that for like 30 years in a row. And it just kept building from there. And I started interviewing pilots and engineers, people who worked in the industry, started piecing these things together. And then the UFOs were kind of as a side point that just all blended together. And that's really, Dave, how it all began.
Wow. I grew up at the third biggest air show in the world, which was the Abbotsford International Air Show.
Okay.
And I remember my dad took me there for the first time in 1976 when I was 3 years old. And I went 24 years straight, man. 24 years straight. And so I know the passion that you have. Now, you're a private pilot as well.
Correct. Yes.
What's it like for you when you get into the cockpit of your airplane and just cruise around in the friendly sky?
I'm strictly VFR, and I like to fly with a big bubble canopy so you can see everything. And slow flight is fine for me. I don't need to be ripping through IFR or anything. And it's just nice to fly around. Glider pilot as well, and so I kind of started flying gliders first, then went to power, and I just like the Diamond Katana DA-20A1. That was my bird. So really nice to fly that aircraft.
Michael, you are known within the UFO aviation community as someone who is very accurate with your information. You are extremely studious. You are someone who doesn't like to get facts wrong.
Right.
Why did you take such a hardcore stance with your research in trying to bring those facts to the public?
Yeah, good question. Well, I knew that if I was ever going to make some of these old cases come alive through the use of illustrations, I knew that there would be people that would be skeptical about it. They would want to know where I got the information from, what the sources were, what the directories were that I got these, what universities I went to, what research centers I went to. I knew I had to have all that meticulously laid out so that someone later on could go back and, using the scientific principle, if everything is correct and I'm providing the references, then they should be able to go to those references and duplicate the same results that I got. And that's the scientific method.
It also really, really shows that your research, yes, you have people who talk to you kind of on the side about it, but the majority of your research is literally right there out the open for anyone to see, for anybody to grab a look at if they, search the internet hard enough.
Yeah, they can find the information there, but definitely want to stress that what we're doing here tonight, we'll be talking about, isn't kind of a Monday morning quarterbacking thing where you just right click on a UFO case with an illustration, save it as your computer, and that's research. The research that we're involved in here is absolutely real world, boots on the ground, grunt research through file cabinets, wearing the white gloves and setting up the appointment and pulling the boxes from the university and talking to the special collections director. That is real world research, and that's what we do here.
I mean, that is absolutely amazing. Mike, for you, your love of aviation and your love of everything that's happened, how did you turn the corner into the black projects, like what replaced the SR-71 or other projects that have kind of, gone astray financially, as well as UFOs? What brought you down that path?
Well, being at OSHKOSH and just kind of asking around, one thing led to another, but I've always had a passion in aviation, and the UFOs just kind of all blended together there. And I'll never stop doing aircraft research, but I'll never stop doing UFO research either. So they're always going to follow this parallel path, actually.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, the fact that you have the ability to be able to blend both. What is your favorite? Is it UFOs? Or is it the secret aircraft that the U.S. government could be flying?
It's both. It's both. As Jim says, he's interested in both as well. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Jim is, and I know that he is a mentor of yours as well, and quite the aviation father figure to you with his work on the SR-71. Sure. And everything. Give people a little bit of a tidbit here. I remember watching one of your documentaries where I believe you were speaking at a MUFON conference in Los Angeles a number of years ago, where you brought up an address. I mean, you were upset about this, where you brought up the address of the United States Navy or somebody like that, where they had spent $5 billion on a aircraft to study to replace, I believe, the FA-18 Hornets, and they never made them because Dick Cheney decided to throw the project out into the garbage.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'll go ahead and stay with my historical cases at this point. So that's the best thing for me to do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we should let our audience know that because of Michael's job, he does have an NDA where there are certain things for his employment that he cannot speak about. So if I accidentally ask a question that he cannot speak about, we're going to stick to what he says, just like that, where he just kind of put me in my place, which I'm very much okay with. All right, let's get into the history of this. There's always a big turn, Michael, with people learning their aviation and trying to define when they look in the sky, what is a UFO and what is something that is ours. Have you been able to tell the difference yet?
Well, I actually wrote a white paper report discussing just that. And if we go along through some of these cases tonight, David, what I keep on finding is these patterns that just keep on coming up. Patterns in dates, patterns in understructure, patterns in noises and humming noises before the departure of these things. Okay, so a couple of examples here. January 5th, 2000, the Belgium Triangle, multiple, even Hudson Valley Boomerang. We keep hearing these reports of tubes, pipes, and cylinders on the bottom of these craft. It just keeps on popping up. And then we hear reports of prior to departure on a lot of these vehicles, there is this strange high-pitched drilling noise. That is something that keeps on popping up. And then we also hear, Dave, and we hear reports of people who, when they see these things, there's always, in many cases, prongs or protrusions sticking out of the top of these craft. And that's something that is common within a lot of these cases as well. So that's just three quick examples of the things that I've seen going through these cases.
Wow. I love the patterns. In journalism, Michael, as Jim Goodall has jumped on in here too. The grandfather, the granddaddy, he looks like he was in the hot tub right before coming in here.
No, I wish I was, but today was just a weird day all the way around.
Haha.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here, my friend.
Good to see you, Jim. Good to see you, Jim.
Yeah. And I'm enjoying your book, Michael.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yes. And I put it on the internet, so people, I keep sharing it, so it's getting some exposure.
That's good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Hey, you trimmed your beard there, Mr. Scott.
Well, I did a little bit, and I didn't trim the hair though. I pulled the hair back.
Oh, so you haven't lost any of your strength?
No, I have. I'm
Okay.
still Samson of the radio. That's for sure. I want to ask Michael here. I love it when you talk about these patterns and these protrusions that people are seeing, because as a journalist, one of the things that I was taught was how to read between the lines. And when you read between the lines, that's where the true story really unfolds.
Right.
Do you find that with the patterns of these UFOs as well?
I absolutely do. And I think it's all connected because you've got different locations, you've got different times, and you've got different people all reporting the same thing. So when you put that together, now you're starting to put this patchwork together and you can fill in the blanks on this puzzle.
61 stories that you have been able to compile for Dark Files, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO encounters. What do you like about the obscure encounters more so than the ones we hear of every day?
Yeah, I like to dig real deep, and I'm talking about real deep, going into dusty, dark, old, decrepit research centers, and then pulling out file cabinets and manila folders that are all coffee stained and completely, dog-eared, and then pulling out these old files where you discover this fantastic sketch and a 3-page report and something that has a flight path report. When you put that all together, now you've got a good candidate for an illustration. Those are the cases that I love to drill down on and really do a good illustration on. Those are my favorite.
Tim Goodall, I want to bring you in here for a second, because I really don't believe that the UFO world and the Black Projects world really has a true understanding of the knowledge and the brilliancy of Michael Schratt. And I'm pretty sure you would agree with me on that without him, we wouldn't be as knowledgeable as what we are with what is flying in the sky.
I've been doing this for 50 years before the internet. I'm relentless. I just keep going at it. And Michael Schratt makes me look like a piker.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
I mean, I've seen how he works. I mean, he's been sharing stuff on his book 1, hopefully of many books. The artwork that he goes out and contracts out, and he's doing it for himself, but for the preservation of the history. And how many filing cabinets do you have scattered around the country, Michael?
Well, there's 304 binders and just an unlimited supply of cases to last to the next ice age.
I mean, I if you haven't seen when Michael arrives at your, come up and give you a visit, he brings one of his binders, and I'm sure that side of his body that is used to carrying it, probably the arms are about twice as thick. Again, I have never met anybody in any background when it comes to history, and that's my true calling, I think, as a historian. That's what I did in the Air Force, and that's what I've been fortunate enough to pen 29 books. 27 of them. 27 of them are in print, and nobody has the dedication and the focus. I mean, Michael is laser focused on that goal. I mean, regardless of what it is, he has right now. He has some limitations, and we won't get into that. But they're not him that they're the limitations. But absolutely nobody has the supporting documents, and then firsthand interviews, illustrations by them, and then you go have, based on their physical description of the area and everything else, you go pay to have an artist render that thing based on some scribbled little thing that the the person who saw the craft, and then and they're so beautifully done. I mean, I don't know how many sold, but they may have to cut down a whole bunch of more trees, because this is this is an incredible book. And again, really I've been blessed. I've been seeing not all of this, but some of it, because we talk about 3 or 4 times a week.
Of course.
Yeah, and he's like my kid.
You're my father figure, Jim.
But I look up to Michael, and I'd known you for about 20 years before I think I ever heard you give a presentation, and that's where I met the Mr. Dave Scott, the voice of wilderness in BC, right? And I've seen a lot of people give presentations on a little bit of everything. I was absolutely blown away, Michael. I was blown away, and that's when I started pushing you and needling you to say, okay, Michael, you have to put this into a book.
Yeah,
take 50 or 75 of the top ones that you think that need to be shown, and that's book 1. And then you have the next 75 or whatever that you want the world to know about. That's book 2. And I swear, just in the stuff that he's brought with him, he could probably do 10 books, 20 books. And that's without ever taking anything. I mean, without loading anything else into your car, just what you have, and your your 1 3-wing binder. I mean, it's this thick. If I look a little bit frazzled, my wife went through radiation treatment tonight she has brain cancer, but it's a small one, and it was very successful.
Good.
She freaked out yesterday, and she has another one. She has one tomorrow night and also Friday night. So 15 minutes.
Okay.
And she's a real trooper.
That's still rough, man. Let's give her some prayers from all of our audience. We'll send some love and energy that way, Jim. That is for sure. Michael, you know what? We've only got about 2 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. For you yourself, this book has to be a major accomplishment of a lot of hard and years worth of work.
Oh, it is. And again, the goal of this book is to preserve an important part of our national history through the use of illustrations that were procured from the actual eyewitnesses. And from those sketches, we created the full color renderings, and the goal is to make these cases come alive. And that's what the whole book is about.
And the renderings are beautiful. I mean, it takes you right there as though you're you're a witness to history being made. Michael, I mean, I have to, if I could give you 10 gold stars, I would cheat and give you 15 or 20.
Oh, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jim.
And I'm honored to be, to have helped push you in that direction.
Yes, you did. Good. Yes, you did.
Good. You needed a good butt kicking over that, Jim.
Absolutely.
He did.
Absolutely.
You know what? And I fully agree with you on that, because Michael's knowledge, and we're going to get into this book heavily in the next half hour of the show, but Michael's knowledge and the way he is able to describe and dig up the facts on all of these cases are phenomenal. He doesn't tell you what to believe. He doesn't tell you or take you down any dirt roads that have no exit to them. He takes you just where the facts lead him. And that's why, if you're going to add any book to your UFO collection, you can go to Amazon and click on Dark Files, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO encounters. It is one for your library. That is for sure. It just came out on February 8th. And I'll tell you, for 126 pages, that is going to make your brain hurt. It will make your brain hurt with that amount of information shoved into in a great, great way. That is very right, Jim. We have the legendary Michael Schratt here on Spaced Out Radio with the godfather of military aviation, Jim Goodall, hanging out on the side. Spaced Out Radio continues with Michael Schratt right after this on the mighty SOR. All right, gents, we are clear from the radio side, YouTube side. They can still hear us.
I was delighted when I saw here. I think it was a post you put on Facebook that Michael was going to be on, and was, Jen, I want to be on there too. I mean, if nothing more to cheer him on. I am. If you were my kid, I would be so proud of what you have done.
Really? Wow.
Yes. No, I mean,
You're so nice, Jim. You're so nice.
There are so many people. Well, I want to write a book someday. I want to write. Well, get off your ass and write it, or
Right.
get someone who has a big foot and keeps kicking you in the butt and say, "Hey, move on." You may not have a high regard for yourself at times, but the UFO world does.
Huh.
I mean, I mentioned my friend Michael Schratt. Oh, Michael, yeah. I said, oh, I'd love to have him on my show. I said, well, I mean, and it's universal. When in San Francisco, when I heard him talk for the first time, when I met Dave, when you had long flowing mane, I just, again, I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be great. And it was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And
that's a universal. That's a universal feeling towards you, Michael.
Oh yeah,
that's good to hear. That's good feedback to hear.
I got to show you guys something. We just created this on our Spaced Out Radio store tonight. Team Lazar T-shirts.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah, so we so you can get yourself a T-shirt. This is courtesy of Lynn Wallington. There's the front, the Bob Lazar glasses with Team Lazar and the lenses, and then on the back, we got sports on the back.
Oh God, yeah,
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to get one.
Head over to our store at spacedoutradio.com. We have unisex ones, and we got one specifically for the ladies. So make sure you check that on out. Just go to shop, and they're right in here somewhere. They're on page 2, actually. They're on page 2. And don't forget, you get your Paranormal shirts, your SOR MSG instead of AOI MSG. Absolutely. It's awesome. There you go. Check it on out. Yeah. Sorry, guys, for the cheap plug there.
That's okay. Yeah.
That's all right.
We'll quickly say hello to Joe's Maine. You've got Stealth Bombers. Grantavius, good to see you. Apollo 11, thanks for coming on in. The gorgeous Magic Maiden. Terminator 800 T800, how are you? Lee, nice to have you back. Logan L, good to see you. Yeah, there's some love for Michael right there. Big J, what's happening, man? Moonlight, how are you? Thanks, Kevin, for coming on in. And who else is joining us here? Let's see here. Pretty much got everybody here. We will take Ria. Thank you. I know you're new here. We'll take your question in hour 2. So just if you don't mind reposting it, then that would be wonderful. And then I will get that to Michael for you. Coyote, good to have you back, man. Thank you for coming on in. The gorgeous Marie from LA, thank you for joining us. The stunning Kathy Splash, welcome back. And I hope your Kegel exercises were good. Apparently they were, according to her note. I just repeat the shit. Michael Darling, welcome back. Lord Vintage Beard, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. And there we are. We're caught up now. We are totally caught up. All right. We got about a minute and a half here, boys. Minute and a half.
Have you nailed anything down on it about April?
Well, yes. I was actually just going to mention it. Jim Goodall and Michael Schratt will be attending the Spaced Out Radio Fan Party in Las Vegas, April 22nd to 24th at the Golden Nugget in Vegas. And they will be a part of the Saturday live show that Lynn Wallington will be putting on. And that's the only thing we're charging entry for. It's $25 to get in there. $25. That's nothing for Vegas. That's literally one chip at the blackjack table. That's it. All right. They're going to be speaking. They're going to be hanging out with all of you guys. They're going to be chatting with you, if you guys are there in Vegas, we got 31 people, 31 fans so far committed to going. I know there's about another 20 more that are just waiting on things. I know like Enzo's going to be there, Dirty Filth is going to be there, and many, many others are coming. And we're going to make it happen. And it's going to be great. And there's so many more people. I think George Knapp is going to be there. I believe Science Bob McGuire is going to be there. Lorian Fenton, Melinda Leslie, Nicole Sakic is going to be there. And it's going to be great. And let's see. I think we're going now. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, as well as TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Literally one of my favorite people in the UFO world, Michael Schratt, is here, along with another living legend, Jim Goodall. As Michael has a brand new book out, which is called Dark Files, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO counters. This is 61 fully illustrated cases that he has studied, all jammed into 126 pages. You go onto Amazon, type in Michael Schratt or Dark Files, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO encounters. You will find it. It is worth your library time and your reading time, wherever that may be. Michael, thank you so much for coming in. Jim as well.
Great to be with you, Scott. Dave.
Absolutely. Now, Michael, let's take a look at some of these cases here that have really set you off. Earlier, you said that there were these strange patterns that a lot of the craft were having. But when people go through this book, they will also see a large number of weird, strange illustrations. When people look in the sky, we're used to seeing, little dots of light, or maybe 3 dots emanating a triangle. I mean, yet the craft you're talking about are so much different.
Well, the book really kind of does a deep dive into the structure of these vehicles. We talked about the pipes and the tubes and the cylinders, but what we're also hearing from the witnesses is that a lot of these craft are held together by rusty bridge rivets, and they have this armor-plated steel with seams on it. That's what they're reporting too. So in the book, I go into detail on some of those cases.
All right. Is there a favorite case you have that you could share with us from this book?
Oh, sure. As soon as I can figure out how to do this share screen here, we'll go ahead and start something here.
So you just hit the share button.
Okay, share screen. Okay. Let's see. So go here, share screen. Okay, entire screen. Share. Okay.
All right,
So,
I'll add it here.
see.
We got.
Do you
All right,
see
so-
this? Do you
Yes.
see this? You do.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
So we also have to remember that our radio audience is not going to be able to see what you're putting up on screen. So we'll just try to explain it a little bit here.
No problem. Okay, so let me go ahead and hit you with the sources where I got this information from so that people don't think I'm just making this out of the clear blue here. I want people to be able to reference this so that they can see this as well. So the reference for these cases is CUFO, Center for UFO Studies. That's 2457 West Peterson Avenue in downtown Chicago. All of those files, Dave, have now been moved under the jurisdiction of the David Marler Collection. That's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, I will point out David Mahler is a fantastic researcher. He has his own dedicated research center that rivals the archive centers of many universities. I mean, he's got the green lights, he's got the beautiful table, he's got the beautiful chairs. It is a legitimate research center. NICAP, APRO, MUFON, which is HQ now in Ohio. I always like to point out that if there's anybody that's kind of skeptical, that's sitting on the sidelines, they don't know exactly which way to go with UFOs, I would point them to a book called Invisible Residents by Ivan T. Sanderson that talks about USOs, unidentified submerged objects. And after reading that book, if you look at it objectively, you cannot walk away thinking there's nothing to this phenomenon. It's a very powerful book. Uninvited Guest by Richard Hall. Again, David Marler collection, UFO News Clipping Service. There were some cases from the Wendell Stevens collection, Leonard Stringfield collection, Gray Barker UFO collection. That's Clarksburg, West Virginia. And then just good old-fashioned boots on the ground research, Dave. That's how I got the information.
Very cool. Very cool. And out of those studies that you were able to get those, was there more in there, say, for MUFON than New Fork or any of the other groups? Like, did
it was all spread
on-
out. It was all completely spread out, somewhat sporadic, and that's why it took so long. Because what I would generally do is I'd call Mark Rodiger, send him an email, and I'd set up the appointment. We generally do it like on a Sunday afternoon. I drive an hour to get to downtown, and then I spend the next 4 hours going through the file cabinets. And the manila folders were packed so close you couldn't put a razor blade between each manila folder. That's how packed these cases were. And someone had to go in, someone, crazy, to go down into these archives and these manila folders and physically look through all 60,000 cases. That's what it took to dig the information out. So let's go ahead and hit you with the first case here. Now, this is an APRO file. And what we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen, this is February 3rd, and I'm going to give you my sources here. February 3rd, 1983, Mobile, Alabama. Primary eyewitness is driving down the road. It's about 9 p.m. She had just finished a dinner engagement. She's on her way home, and she hears this big booming noise. It's so large that it vibrates her car. She thought the transmission had fallen out. So she's pulled off to the side of the road. She stopped the vehicle. She opened up the car door, got out of the vehicle, looked under the vehicle, thinking that the transmission might have fallen out. That seemed to be okay. She got back into the vehicle, drove another half mile down the road, and off to the right, Dave, she saw this clearing. And within the clearing, there was this lighted craft that was about, you could estimate, and we've got the report here, they give you the numbers here, 210 feet long by 80 feet tall. It looked kind of like a ball in front with a tapering wedding cake as it went back toward the aft end of the craft itself. Now, we'll start at the upper section of the craft, and everybody can kind of follow along with their imagination here. The upper section of the craft had this very interesting transparent section that wrapped around the forward 1/3 of the craft. Now, behind this transparent wraparound curved window, there were these interesting humanoid-looking beings, according to the eyewitness. She mentioned that they were about 5 feet 10 inches tall. They were humanoid-looking. They looked like they were moving around in this sterile environment, antiseptically sterile environment. They were wearing these one-piece, tight-fitting white flight suits. Very interesting. Now, below that section, there was another wraparound transparent section that was just slightly shorter than the one above it. Below that, she said that there were all these porthole windows in this craft, and she could look through one porthole window all the way through the craft and through to the other side. Very interesting. Near the midsection of the forward part of the craft, there were these 6 foot by 6 foot boxes that looked like sand boxes, and then protruding. Here's this first case now of these protrusions that looked like pipes, and they were about 5 feet in diameter with a 2-inch wall. That's what she described. Now, she didn't know if they were guns, cannons, but she didn't think so. That was just kind of the first impression. Now, below these sand boxes, there was a door, is what she said, a door closing from right to left, And on this left-hand wall of the craft, within this door, she saw a wall that was comprised of tubes, pipes, and cylinders and silencers. Dave, in many cases, these eyewitnesses reported that it looked like it came from a Midas muffler shop. That's what they're describing. Very strange configuration. Now, she also said that somehow, the only way I can figure out that she saw this is if the craft was actually tipped up slightly. She said that there was an asphalt road leading into this craft. And this is all in the book, Dark Files. And, also want to talk about the YouTube channel as well, Blue Room Media. We've described this case in here. Now, below the craft itself, there were these two gondolas that were transparent, and it had the same 5'10" humanoid-looking beings wearing these one-piece, tight-fitting white flight suits. And the top portion of the gondola was connected to these very interesting 12-inch by 12-inch highly polished mirror reflective devices, and there were about 1,000 of them that were grouped in a cross on the bottom of the craft. And again, this is 210 feet long by 80 feet high, February 3rd, 1983, Mobile, Alabama.
Wow. Have there been other reports of this same craft, or is this a one-off?
This is a one-off. Yeah, this is a one-off. Now, I should also mention that she was close enough to look through these porthole windows. And when she did, guess what she saw, Dave? Guess what she saw?
Tell me it was aliens.
No. She said it reminded her of an East Coast shipping yard where they were laying the keel of a battleship, and it had all these bulkheads. And she could look through one part of the porthole all the way through these bulkheads to the other side. And she said on the exterior of the craft, it had rivets fastening this whole thing together.
When I hear of rivets, Michael, I think man-made. I really do think of man-made.
So do I.
I mean, could this be, and maybe, Jim, I might have to defer this question to you, but when you see a craft like this, Jim, do you see something like this when rivets are spoken of, that this could be some sort of test-like program just to see if it flies?
I mean, as far as the large rivets like you'd find in a ship, like the Titanic, I don't know. It's the configuration itself is unusual, and like say, it's the only ones. My question: How does the person know that they're 5'10"? I just caught me as funny. That's all.
Oh no, I got you, and I've got that for you right here. The source is April Bulletin, Volume 32, Number 2, 1984. They discuss the beings.
Wow.
So these are the original sketches that were used to create the full color rendering. That was done by John McNeil. So this is one of my favorite cases because you're right, Dave. This is a one-off.
Are there a lot of one-offs like that, Michael?
Yeah, there are. Now, these one-off, they share features and components of other craft, but the configuration is a one-off, yes.
I'm just amazed by all the window holes.
Yep.
I mean, are those window holes, or are they
gun
no, those are porthole windows, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for rowing.
Yeah, no.
That's
no
good.
Have the drum up here. Boom, boom.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue moving on here. Now, this is the time frame here is late 1958, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We're talking about the USS FDR, and before we even begin, we should always mention that the USS FDR had a history and pattern of either USO cases, unidentified submerged object, or plain UFO cases. For some reason, this aircraft carrier had an unprecedented amount of UFO encounters, and it might be because this was the first aircraft carrier to carry nuclear weapons on board. And we'll go ahead and dive into this case. Now, I spoke to the primary eyewitness. His name is Chester Grzinski. He was on the aircraft carrier when this actually took place. He's no longer with us. Sighting report filed August 8th, 1970, and he has an original sketch of what they saw. So let me set the scene here. It's around 9 p.m. at night, and all of a sudden there is chaos below decks. There's swearing, there's chaos. Guys are trying to climb up ladders to get up to the flight deck, and people are tripping over themselves, and it's just an absolute chaotic scene. They are rushing to get to the top of the flight deck. Now, when they got there were at least 25 naval personnel, including Chester Grzinski, who saw this yellow light approaching the aircraft carrier. Now, as it got closer, Dave, this thing was not just a yellow light. This was, in point of fact, about a 200-foot long cigar-shaped craft, and we've done I'll give you a little bit better of a view here. 200-foot long cigar-shaped craft that had these rectangular windows, and in back of these windows, Chester said, and the other witness, they said that they saw humanoid-looking beings that were walking back and forth through these windows. And he said in one case, one of these beings kind of leaned up to this window and was looking at the personnel down on the flight deck that were looking back at them, and he rose his hand above his head like he was waving to the naval personnel back on the aircraft carrier. This is his original sketch that I've got on the screen here. This is all in the book. And then he said that they could feel the heat radiating off this craft onto their faces. So right there, it's a CE2 and it's a CE3 because it had physical effects, and there was an encounter with some type of being. Now, I went ahead and took all this information together from Chester, from the Flat Top newsletter, from the MUFON report, from his 5-page written type letter that described the entire thing, put that all together. I commissioned my good friend Tom Bogan to do a full color rendering, and this is the final result that we came up with here. Shows you what the craft looked like. You can see the one being waving to the personnel below. Now I'll go ahead and do an enlargement here, and you can see what this thing actually looked like. So this is all within the USS FDR case.
I mean, for it to be that low to the ground and that smooth, were they seeing any rivets in this craft as well? Or
not according to him, no. This was like a seamless craft. Yes. No rivets here on this one.
Did he figure out did he figure, in his opinion, whether or not it was UFO or American made?
Well, what I can tell you is when this case concluded, they had members of the intelligence community pull the logbooks of the aircraft carrier for that particular incident, and the excuse that they use to come on board is quote unquote gambling below decks. That's the excuse they used. So you know that someone has the files on this. Probably radar, certainly the logbooks, but yeah, it does exist, and more than one witness saw it. So,
Jim, what's your opinion on this? When you look at it and you see, it looks to be one pure sheet of metal. It's got the windows, potential people or extraterrestrials looking down. Does this look familiar to you in your history run, or is this something brand new?
As I'm looking at it, it's almost like there's an intergalactic tour company is bringing people down to Earth just to go see the sights, and they're standing there for waving them. It would be like the Japanese only buses in Honolulu. It just sort of reminds me of a bus or a train, or but the windows are big enough so it would be give you a lot of view of whatever you're looking at. You can look up, down, almost straight down, because a little bit it looks like they're curved. So I would say this is a tour operation for somebody, not from here. No, that's not from here.
I am really surprised, Michael, that he was able to speak about this, because usually an event like this would be flowing with NDAs.
Mm-hmm. I know. A lot of people have tried to get data on this, and they've all pretty much been unsuccessful. They try to sweep this stuff under the carpet. And like I mentioned before, they did have personnel come on the aircraft carrier. I assume they pulled all the logs and any kind of radar tapes that were created. They've got it. So, and this is all from Chester Brzezinski. He was mentioned twice in a kind of an internal newsletter called the Flat Top, because they have a newsletter for the aircraft carriers. That's what it's called. So there's 2 articles plus about 2 other newspaper clippings. He's been interviewed before, and I did speak to him on the phone once, and that was it. But yeah, it's a really good, solid case.
I want to ask you regarding this, Michael, with this case, could this be the reason why we now hear of many types of encounters where they are hustling seamen and sea women down underneath so they can't see anything, so that way they don't have anything like this happen again?
It's a very good question. Yeah, if you think about it, that's what they would want to do, right? Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, what do you think, Jim?
I don't know. I just, I'm a hardware guy. That's where I come from. I'm machines. Planes, trains, automobiles, fast cars, and I just.
But wouldn't you like to drive something that has zero source of propulsion on this outside of it?
I mean, it would be a kick in the butt. I would just, you'd be able to, I want to go to, hey, let's go to Saigon and have dinner. There, you're there, or no, I'm gonna go to Antarctica. Let's go down some of those dry valleys and maybe get out and go for a walk. I mean, and you do it instantly.
Well, you're very romantic that way.
I'm Sicilian. I am mostly Sicilian. My mom was 100%.
Very nice. With this case, how long did this sighting happen? Was it just like worth a minute? Was it there up in the air 20 minutes?
It was about 20 minutes because it had to approach the aircraft carrier. They saw the whole thing. Like a few of them before the others got there, they had seen this thing coming.
What about the heat?
Yep, the heat. They definitely felt the heat.
Were they able to explain what it was or what they felt it was? Was it infrared?
No, the report says that they could feel it on their faces.
Awesome. How hot was that heat? Was it Arizona type heat? Was it dry heat?
I don't think it was unbearable, but they definitely mentioned that they could feel the heat radiating off this craft, and they mentioned that they could feel it on their faces.
Were the sailors who were out inside caught in this heat, were they tested for any sort of radiation poisoning?
Not that I know of. It didn't say anything in the report. And
wow.
he I don't think he had any, negative physical effects at all. No, I don't think so.
When it disappeared and when it moved on, Michael, as we got about 90 seconds left here tonight in this hour, did it just blip out or did it actually leave like an aircraft?
Well, it kind of turned an orange-red color and then departed the area. And then, a lot of times when they do depart like a spark on a grinding wheel, they make no sonic boom. And this is, long before technology here. So interesting that they can depart that way. But in this case, it turned this kind of a yellow-orange color and then departed, not quite like a spark on a grinding wheel, but kind of rapidly.
I'm wondering, and I don't know if you can answer this, probably not in the report, at that time, the Navy would have had A4s, A7s, F4 Phantoms, the Phantom being the pride of the fleet, which did a Mach 2.3, I believe. I'm wondering if they had any birds in the air. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I've got another case with the FDR that mentions just that, and these things were clocked going 4,000 miles an hour. 2 F4s were scrambled, and there was no contest.
Wow.
No contest at all.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to wrap up hour number 1 here on Spaced Out Radio. You need this book for your collection. If you're an aviation fan, if you're a UFO fan, Michael Schratt, the legendary researcher.
It's a beautiful book.
It is a beautiful book. Michael Schratt, the legendary James Goodall, the book, Dark Files, Book 1, A Pictorial History of Lost, Forgotten, and Obscure UFO Encounters. We continue with Michael's research and your questions coming into hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
What I love are the illustrations. I mean, besides your incredible research, I mean, you bring it to life.
That's because of you, Jim. That's because of you.
I may kick you in the butt to do something, or maybe some of my enthusiasm wore off. But Michael, this is the efforts of Michael Schratt, who's done a job that no one else could.
Well,
I agree.
We're all on the same crusade here, and we're all on the same team. So it's good to be a part of the group.
Yeah. So I mentioned to a few people. For quite a few people, I feel so comfortable in this community.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, every community, you get more than 3 people. One of them is going to be an asshole, But I'm really amazed at. We're all a little bit weird in our own rights.
Yeah, sure.
Of the really diversity of people who like things that go bump in the night, UFOs, Sasquatches, and I love it. And it's just I think I get a buddy of mine, David, right there, this hairy beast. The day I met you, I think I told you, said it was like meeting an old friend for the first time.
I know, it was scary.
Yeah,
it was scary.
And I don't get that from very many people. I know a lot of people, but I don't have a large number of people that I would say these are my friends. These are people I'd go out of the way for. And unfortunately, Dave, you're not on that list yet. But
shit. I'll get there. I'll figure it out.
You're one of my favorite people, and I got a lot of them, but you're way up there near the top. That's for sure.
Well, thank you, and trust me, the admiration and the love is definitely returned, my friend.
Yeah.
I literally, for people who don't know, after the conference was over on the Saturday night or Friday night in San Francisco, I invited Jim to sit down, and him and me and a couple other people sat down at this table. And for like the next 3 hours, I literally didn't say a word. And I just sat there in awe and listened to all these stories that he has compiled for the years. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I've been blessed to have some very wonderful friends. I've been blessed to have some very unique opportunities. I'm the only guy in my neighborhood to have flown the B-2 simulator at Whiteman Air Force Base. I'm the only guy to scrounge a blackbird.
That's right.
And for an old guy, I think I still do pretty good. I can keep up with a lot of the youngins.
You're the only guy too who flown a blackbird inside of an aircraft.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that won't be repeated again.
No, I mean, I'm the only person in the universe
that's right
that's been in the cockpit of a blackbird at 33,000 feet at Mach 0.72 inside another airplane. And for those who don't know, I was moving an A-12 Blackbird from Palmdale, California to the Minnesota Air Guard Museum. And I scrounged 2 C-5s from the New York Air Guard to move it. Was that White Lightning?
No, I get these weird flash. It's funny. It only happens on this screen when I move my head in a certain direction. All of a sudden, it'll brighten up and then go back. No, there is no lightning. I got a snowstorm outside right now.
Well, Minnesota had 12 to 18 inches yesterday and today.
I know.
That's why I live in Arizona.
I gonna sneeze or not? Son of a gun. All right, I guess I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Guess it went back in.
They wiped that booger out of your nose.
I don't have a booger. Super Knower, I don't know who plays the trumpet music. I pulled it off of royalty-free music on YouTube. Royalty-free jazz. I apologize. I lost the link.
Well, just
Right.
use your golden voice to keep us occupied.
Trying. Sunsaver, how are you? All right, we got it just over a minute here, guys. I want to say a big thank you tonight to both Jeremy and Cat Chaser for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for the love. You can also check out our swag at spacedoutradio.com. We have some great T-shirts. I put up a new T-shirt today. If you're on Team Lazar, if you're on Team Lazar, I got a good shirt up there for you. So you can check that one out, along with Team Stump as well. Because we always want you guys on Team Stump for Devil's Tower. It's a tree. It's no bloody way. It's a big rock made of volcanic pumice and all that. No way. All right, guys, we have about 8 seconds here, so I'll get you guys to hold on, and then we will run again.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zafre. Zafre is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Michael Schratt and special guest Jim Goodall. We are here talking about Michael's brand new book. It can be found on Amazon, Dark Files, Book 1, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO encounters. This is one, if you're an aviation fan, you're going to want to add to your library. And if you are a fan of UFOs, it works right in there as well. Michael, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave, for being with you. Great.
Absolutely. Jim, thank you for coming on in. Before we get to the next report, Michael, I got a couple questions from our audience because I like to mix them in. Excalipurful is asking, Michael, have you ever reconstructed the Ontario Barbells UFO case?
I am not familiar with that case, so I guess the answer is no.
All right. Let's go to John. This one's for Jim. Jim, how do we get the mainstream media to talk openly about the huge number of scientifically unexplainable missing people, children, and abductions, DNA manipulation, and new hybrids, etc.?
I mean, they're a bunch of lying bastards. I don't listen to the mainstream media because the mainstream media has an objective that's not truth. I don't know. I wouldn't know how. I mean, it is a problem. I mean, people disappear. I mean, and I was talking to a guy earlier today about he had a friend walk out his front door to go to the mailbox. His wife went out at about a minute later because he hadn't come back. He was gone. No trace. No car. His car wasn't missing. Nothing. He just disappeared. And never came back. So I mean, it is. I don't know, the scientific and medical community. We're dealing with the DNA manipulation and new hybrids and whatever. They've lost so much credibility in the last 2 years. I mean, they're lying through both sides of the mouth. I mean, I just the mainstream media is a mouthpiece for something I don't represent. So I don't.
Right. I think that's good.
Okay.
I think that's good.
I can rattle on forever, but
well, put it this way: as a former member of the mainstream media, I never wanted to admit it until I saw what was happening up here in Canada, and I now admit that there's a problem. There's a big, big problem with the way things are being reported. But let's move on, Michael. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this question. But if you can't, Jim can ask it. Big J is asking, do F-19s and up have space flight capabilities?
You want to take that, Jim?
I mean, no. To go into space, first of all, the most important thing is you have to protect the occupant if it's manned. So you have to have an environmental system that can deal with the zero gravity and zero atmosphere. I mean, you're in space. No. I saw the early Iron Birds for the F-35 back in 1989. There was nothing in that skeleton. It was just for major component fitting, but it was to real tight tolerances. So no. It just the space qualified suit. They're $250,000 a piece. That's what the SR-71 pilots. They had two of them. They had for $250,000. That's very expensive, and you have to wear it. It's not comfortable. Pilot has to be maneuverable. Pilot has to be able to look around. Or in the F-35, he has situational awareness. Even if he's looking at the through the behind his ejection seat, he can see the ground and whatever is below him. But no, the only thing that ever could come close if you put a rocket in his tail after you got to altitude would have been the Blackbird, because the occupant in the cockpit is designed to go in, up to 125,000 feet. So no.
I want to get to one more question here before we get back to Michael. This is from Rhea, and she asked this earlier in the show, and I asked her politely to wait, so I don't want to waste any more time of hers. And she is asking, do either of you know about Project Avatar? Also, each of your thoughts on the Crucifixion of Christ 1350 painting, which has UAP vehicles ongoing, real activity. Michael, I don't know if you can answer that, if you want to defer to Jim.
On the second part on the painting, I'm not quite sure what's being interpreted there. It could be some type of ET craft. I'm just not sure, but yeah, I'm familiar with those paintings of antiquity.
And I mean, and that's all. I said the same thing as Michael said. I'm aware of them, but I haven't paid any attention to what they represent.
All right, let's quickly get John's in here. It's being said tens of millions of years ago go missing mysteriously each year globally. This is definitely one of the biggest problems the world has. What percentage is due to the non-human entities taking them? John, I'm going to just kind of defer that here, that these guys are more not into the whole alien abduction thing. They're more into the aviation side. But Jim, if you want to reel in on this, please.
I mean, just here in this country, people just disappear. I mean, they walk outside to get something, and they didn't. There's no foot trails, from their shoes. If it was wet grass or snow or whatever, people go outside, and next thing they're gone. And again, it happens all over the world. I mean, it's not just developed countries, but
no, absolutely.
It's something to be concerned about, but that's not where my focus is.
Yeah, and John is a very loyal listener of ours. We love the guy around here, and I like to get his questions in. But I mean, there is a large number of people. John, we'll talk privately about that because I might have some info for you that Butch Witkowski gave me before he passed away. So we'll talk about that. All right, Michael, let's get right to your research here. Your brand new book, Dark Files: A Pictorial History of Lost, Forgotten, and Obscure UFO Encounters. You got another little piece of information for us. This one coming from a farmer's field?
Okay, so the setup here, it's May 26, 1979. It's Calusa, California. And this gentleman is watching TV. It's about 11:30 p.m. at night. And all of a sudden, the television conks out. Simultaneously, the air conditioning unit also fails. So he gets off the couch, he walks back to the back of the house, he opens up the circuit breaker box. He was checking the circuit breakers, that seemed to be okay. And then Dave, the next thing that he remembers or sees or even feels is that the hair on his arms, the hair on his chest, and the hair on his head not only started sticking up, but started crackling. He was encased in this static electrical field, which was in the localized area, and he looked up and he sees this 140-foot diameter dish-shaped craft. On the top of it, it had a dome, but it wasn't the standard dome that we're all familiar with. This one looked like an orange juice squeezer or a lemon squeezer. It had these ridges on it. If you recall what these sort of older juice squeezers look like, that's what this thing looked like. Now, on the bottom of it, it had 6 conduit pipes that terminated in frayed edges, but a better description for these pipes is ramen noodles. It looked like ramen noodles hanging down from this craft. Now, on either side of the exterior part of the craft, both left and right, there were these 2 double prongs that came down. So here's basically another case where you have these prongs or protrusions. Now, on the left side of this large 140-foot diameter dish-shaped craft, he saw another craft that was identical in shape, but not in size. It was half the size of the original, and it was pulling power off the 500,000 volt power lines, causing them to become cherry red. So right now it's a CE2 case because it had physical effects. So that's the beginning portion of this. Now, as these conduit pipes retracted into the bottom of the craft, those double prongs, they retracted 90% into the bottom section of the craft itself. At that exact moment, a hatch opened up on both left and right side, and out from these hatches came these gooseneck lights that shine down on the ground below. So that's kind of our setup scene here. Now I'm going to take you to a drawing. Now, people following along won't actually be able to see this, but here's the drawing that shows you these conduit pipes with the frayed edges. There was a large red light in the forward section of the craft, and then you see these concave sections or rivets that look like a juice squeezer. Now, next thing that happened is this gentleman was getting really concerned, so he went inside the house. He woke up his wife. He woke up his 2 kids. They went to the back wall window. They pulled back the blinds, and they're looking outside this window. And what do they see? They see that large craft that he had originally seen, but flanked on both left and right-hand side were these 2 smaller craft, and they were pulling power off the 500,000 volt power line. So again, this is a CE2 case. Now, next thing that happened was very interesting. Remember, this is back in 1979. The entire area had a blackout. That's the first thing that happened. Second thing that happened is that large craft went from a dead standstill to hovering over the low rolling hills 25 nautical miles away, did it in less than 1 second, and then came back in less than 1 second. So whatever this thing was, or whoever was piloting this thing, if there was a pilot, it went from a ground zero dead stop to 25 miles in one direction, 25 miles and back. So we're talking about 50 miles in less than 2 seconds. And in 1979, it didn't create a sonic boom. So that's the level of technology that we had or someone had back in 1979. So what happened next is he said, you know what, we're getting out of here. I am way too concerned for my family. So he piled, it was a chaotic scene. They're rushing to get into the pickup truck. The wife is in the passenger side. The kids, they've still got their pajamas on. They all pile in, they've got the pillow in the back seat there. The report says that he drove 90 miles an hour down the road, and the large craft started following the truck. It went over to the passenger side, back over to the cab, then it went over to the left-hand side. They finally get to the neighbor's house, but before that, let me give you the reference here. It's San Antonio Express, February 6, 1977, headline here. Family tells of terror as UFO chase car at 90 miles an hour. So again, the reference here is San Antonio Express, February 6, 1977. So people can verify this on their own. Now, the way this ended is they finally got to the neighbor's house. They all piled out of the truck. The husband banged down the door of the neighbor. 2 neighbors came out just in time to see that large craft fly away. So you've got the original 4 witnesses plus the 2. All 6 of them saw the craft fly away. And this is back in 1979.
Wow. I mean, multiple witnesses on this.
Multiple witnesses. That's right. And newspaper clippings to back it up. So that's the critical part to it.
When you look at a case, Michael, when you look at a case like this, and you're looking at the eyewitness testimony of this craft that is really seen by numerous people, all describing exactly the same thing, how significant is a report like this?
I think it's good because it's got a lot of paperwork to back it up. And I only go after the ones where there's a sketch, an illustration, a 3-page report, and some type of a flight path report. This one actually blacked out the whole area, so there's even more than that. So, but yeah, this is a good, solid case.
This also goes to show where a lot of people, even up today that I've heard, have seen numerous times UFOs pulling up to power lines, almost
That's
like
right.
they are regenerating and refueling their craft. Could that be a fuel source?
I suppose it could be. I don't know if they rely on that 100%, but it certainly appears that they're doing something because it absolutely blacked out the whole area. That was reported in the report from QFOS.
Very Tesla-like, way ahead of their
Very
time.
Tesla-like, yes, that's correct.
I don't even say that to make a joke. I mean, it just, you would think that these craft, if they're flying on some sort of antimatter right across the universe, if they aren't ours, that they wouldn't need to stop at some prehistoric power lines in order to do that. But then again, we've seen craft over volcanoes and waterways as well.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. Yep, that's right.
So with that, I mean, as you are trying to build this up, I mean, this craft, was it seen moving very fast as it left? Was it seen blipping out?
It departed quickly. And they saw it go over the hills in the background. And those hills were at least 24 to 25 miles away. And this thing, like, boom, snap, it was there. Another snap, it came back. And it made no sonic boom. So someone figured out how to make a breakthrough.
This whole sonic boom thing, this is now the 3rd time you've mentioned this.
That's right.
About sonic booms. Okay, for people who don't understand the speed of sound, as we got about 5 minutes left before we have to go to break, please explain how the speed of sound works and what the sonic boom is all about.
Okay, so it's dependent upon altitude. So the higher you go, the thinner the air is. So we're looking at about 760 miles an hour at sea level. And when you start getting into compressibility, that's where the World War II pilots flying the P-51s and the P-38s and the P-47s, when they started these death dives, they started running into compressibility. And so these supersonic shock waves were forming, near the leading edge of the wing, and it blocked out the tail. And so they went right in. It wasn't until they had the flying tail and the swept wings where that started to be conquered. But when you have this aircraft, basically the air cannot get out of the way in time, and you start building up shockwaves. And as the craft is going by, these shockwaves propagate, and on the leading edge of the nacelles and on the leading edge of the forward section of the chine, these shockwaves will propagate all the way down to the ground, and that's why you hear this sonic boom. But that wasn't the case with these craft.
No. So the sonic boom is more important than what we think.
Correct. They figured out a way to negate all of that. Negate G forces, negate inertia, negate sonic boom signatures. So again, somebody figured it out.
Jim, I want to get your opinion on this because, I mean, with these sonic booms that we are hearing about, I mean, we're so used to seeing aircraft fly in the sky anywhere we are on this planet. It's usually military aircraft that have the abilities to fly above the speed of sound, now since the Concorde retired, almost 30 years ago. So yeah. I'm curious for you. I mean, when you hear these craft, these tic-tac like aircraft that are being able to take off at much faster than speed of sound, I mean, how do you even fathom that as an aviation historian?
Well, I mean, I will sort of equate it how I feel about it as a former drag racer. I mean, I used to live at the drag strip every weekend, and I had a hot Camaro. But what the technology differential is, we're still using the internal combustion engine to drive the force. They're using electricity. I mean, you put some very special motors on all four corners of that car, and when you hit it all the way to the floor, you're at maximum horsepower and torque at 0 RPM. I mean, you're gone. Someone out there has a car now. They'll go 0 to 60. That's miles an hour to you guys north of the border.
Appreciate that.
What's that, 100 kilometers?
Yeah, 62 miles an hour is 100 kilometers.
Okay, yeah. And I don't know, it's I lost track.
You were going about the speed of sound.
Yeah. They're trying to do that right now. What has been witnessed through Michael's incredibly good detective work is these things were happening before we had an SST, or at least it wasn't in that particular airspace. And some of the time frames that it couldn't have been a military aircraft that's going faster than the speed of sound and not causing a sonic boom. I mean, they hope to fly the X-59, the Skunk Works built. It's down in Dallas, Fort Worth, at a plant there at the old Carswell Air Force Base, and they're going to do some structural analysis on it, vibration testing, and whatever. And they're trying to go supersonic with little or no boom at 50,000 feet. That's their goal.
Incredible.
But they're not there. They're not there. So, we're looking 40, 50 years ago, some even longer. No, we don't have that technology. And technology hasn't. Someone does, like Michael said, but it's not us. And if it's not us, it's nobody. I don't. Anything the Chinese has that goes, oh, gee whiz, it's been stolen from us.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to take control right back here, as we only have about 15 seconds. We have Michael Schratt for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. When we return from the break, he's got a beautiful new book out called Dark Files, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO encounters. If you want real research, no phony stories, but these are eyewitness testimonies and the pictures that go along with them. It is Dark Files to add to your library, whether you're an aviation buff or a UFO buff or a combination of both. The legendary Michael Schratt, joined by the legendary Jim Goodall. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. What a night for me. Honestly, what a night for me. Two of my favorite people in the UFO world and research.
I feel the same. Two of my favorite people right here. So.
Oh God, I am having just the best night ever right now. I really am.
Well, I mean, if I would love to join you every night, and I know Lynn talked to me about it, and with her. I don't know if I can. If I'm interesting enough to to hold an audience.
Oh yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. I realize it's tough because I'm just a shade better looking than Lynn, just a shade, right? But she's just as smart. Probably no, she's way smarter than me. What am I talking about? Lynn is brilliant, but I think I got the looks out of the two of us.
I gave you a compliment. Like someone sent me an email and said, "Hey, if you'd a croak, who would you want that's living today? Who would you want to do to do your eulogy?" And I said, "You."
Oh goodness, damn it! I will do that. Yeah. I will do that. That is a promise.
Yeah, I mean,
that is a promise.
I enjoy your voice. I don't hear very well, but. Certain ranges I hear really quite well, and your voice is tuned in. Rosemary's voice is in that dead zone. And I mean, it's not purpose. It's purely by been around airplanes too much. And when she talks, I can hear her voice. I can see her mouth move, but I don't have the faintest idea what she just said. So, but yeah, your voice, that or James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones is the person I would love to read my ufology or my eulogy. My ufology. Where's my mind? My eulogy. Oh, James Earl Jones. I love him. I love him.
Yeah. So, but I would love to do my eulogy when he was in his prime of Richard Pryor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think, or Morgan Freeman, because he has that voice.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He has that beautiful. And even Denzel Washington has that voice. I think he's the next one. But he doesn't smoke enough to get that chalky voice like the other guys have.
Yep. I'm about 3 shades. You have to excuse me. Rosemary, I had such a bad session on... yesterday when I was getting her radiation treatment that today went great. So my body is just going.
That's all right. You're here with loved ones,
that's
man.
Right. That's right.
I mean,
we got you.
Like I said, 2 of my favorite people, and
we got you.
Yeah, Curly, Larry, and Mo. Is that how we go?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Jim, I'm happy to hear it went better today. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I mean, even Rosemary said that, because I gave her 2 Adderall. Doctor prescribed it to calm her down because she was, after that failed thing they try to put on his face. And it's a mask. It's like an open weave basket, and it just goes all under face. I mean, it sucks down and it turns rigid. And they put that on you, so when they zap your brain, they know exactly where the tumor is. And they go zap, and it's hopefully 3 sessions, and it should be gone.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. We just got to say hello to Mr. Cowley. Welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley. loves his spaced out radio. That's all I got, boys. That's all I got. I haven't even done the second stanza of that one yet.
Michael, you're working on book 2?
I just finished my next episode for the YouTube channel, and we're going to post that probably in a couple days. So that's what I've been working on.
Okay. But now you
right.
have book 2.
Yeah, you want me to do a book 2, huh? Okay.
I want book 2, 3, 4, 5, and more. Gentlemen, hold on one second. Thank you to John, Dry Toast, Jeremy, and Cat Chaser for the awesome super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Do some shopping. Go to our SOR store on our website, and good stuff there. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate burning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, we got your free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Michael Schratt. He's one of my favorite researchers in the world. Yes, I cannot stop saying that because it's literally true. He's got a great book on Amazon. You can get it right now. It just came out February 8th, called Dark Files, a pictorial history of lost, forgotten, and obscure UFO encounters. And it is a book for the ages. We are also joined by the legend, Jim Goodall here. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
Glad to be here. One of my favorite place.
I'm telling you, Michael is going to have an ego this big after you and I, Jim, done with praising him for how awesome he is. Yeah. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
I tell him every time I see him or talk to him.
That's nice. That's good.
Yes.
So should we continue with our case here?
Yes, obviously we're not allowed to be humble around Michael, so we're just going to continue on with this case here. Let me bring it on up here, my friend. There we go.
All right, so time frame here is March 23rd, 1966, Temple, Oklahoma. And this case concerns an electronics technician, basically an instructor who worked at Shepherd Air Force Base. His name is Eddie Laxon. He's driving down the road. This is near Temple, Oklahoma. It's about 5:05 in the morning. And he's just taking this leisurely commute to work, and things are going well. And all of a sudden, it was still a little bit dark out. The sun was just coming up over the horizon here. So it was kind of an orange sky, but still a little bit dark out. But his headlights come across this strange craft that's blocking the road. It's sitting perpendicular to the direction of travel here on the road. And the best way, gentlemen, to describe what this craft looked like, it looked like an overturned bowling pin. That's the best way to describe this. So this is Eddie Laxon, about 5:05 in the morning. He encounters this overturned bowling pin. Now, try to describe it for you here. It's 75 feet in length. It's about 8 feet tall, and we'll start at the beginning here. It had this chrome-polished aluminum exterior. The forward section of the craft had a bubble transparent canopy that looked like it came or stolen directly off a B-26 bomber from World War II. The whole thing was sitting on 4 pogo landing gear legs. It had 2 beaming spotlights shining directly down onto the road, and then 2 beaming spotlights shining forward. As we move further back on this craft, on the right-hand side, there was an air stair door that was open, and then right next to that air stair door, there was a man, not an alien, but a man. He was wearing two-piece green military fatigues. He was wearing a baseball cap with the bill turned up, and had a flashlight in his hand. He was shining the flashlight down onto the stairs below, like he was looking at something or investigating something. Now, on the top part of the craft, it had this interesting spire device, a stinger or spire that tapered back toward the aft end of the craft, and it terminated in about a 12-inch diameter ball at the end of the stinger. Now, that stinger, gentlemen, looked like the same type of device if you go back to the old electric trolley cars in San Francisco, where it had this pole that connected to the wire. That's what this thing looked like. It had this swept, curved stinger device. Now, after the air stair door, there was about a 3.5-foot diameter porthole window that was divided into 4 equal pie segments. Just aft of that porthole window, there was written in black letters the designation TL4768 written on the side of the craft. TL4768. At the very end of the craft, there were 2 flight control surfaces that appeared to be way too small to be effective for aerodynamic flight. Now, what happened next is, when the gentleman who was wearing the 2-piece green military fatigues found out he was being watched by Eddie Laxton, he immediately climbed up this air stair door. The door was shut, and then there was this high-pitched drilling noise. Here's that pattern recognition again that we're hearing, this high-pitched drilling noise. The entire craft lifted off the ground about 50 feet, sat there for about 20 seconds, and then, gentlemen, this thing took off like a spark on a grinding wheel and made no sonic boom whatsoever. Estimated speed about just a little bit over 700 miles an hour, and at that speed, it's just incredible technology. Now, I've got the original sketch here from Eddie Laxton himself. It's a bit out of scale, so I spent a day actually fixing the scale errors, because he's got 8 feet tall and 75 feet in length. So that was corrected. Now, what I do want to mention is, before this gentleman went into this air stair door section of the craft, Eddie Laxton said that he could see on this gentleman's shoulder, and I'm just going to read the description that I put down here. There was some type of military ranking symbols on his sleeve that looked like a naval admiral. That's what he could see on this gentleman's sleeve, just above his elbow. That's what was seen. So again, this is March 23rd, 1966, and this isn't my case, ladies and gentlemen. This is an actual Project Blue Book case back in 1966.
Wow. So this craft, I mean, it looks very cylindrical. But I would think alien right off the bat, or extraterrestrial, if it wasn't for the letters and numbers on the side.
That's right. Now, I've got the Daily Oklahoman, March 1st, 1971 pulled up here, and it's got a picture of Eddie Laxton, and it says, "Object sighting now rude." So what it's saying is that he got so many phone calls and people wanting to know all about this, that he just, and the ridicule, the demeaning comments, the bullying comments, he just completely lost interest, and he regretted even mentioning this. So what that does, in point of fact, it actually adds more credibility to the case, because he regretted even opening up his mouth. Now, let me hit you with a comment he made that I think is very interesting. Now, this is Eddie Laxton talking here. Quote, "What I saw was definitely not from space. The man was wearing fatigues and had a cap with the bill broken up like Air Force mechanics wear," Laxton said. "It had common English letters on it." So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm proposing here, and this is back in 1966, is somebody made an interesting propulsion system breakthrough that had nothing to do with obsolete liquid rockets, solid rockets. And that brings me to my next real quick thing here is, we should all consider very carefully the tremendous implications about what that statement really means, what he just said in that newspaper clipping, that he didn't think it was anything alien, and whatever this man was, he was wearing a baseball cap with the bill turned up. it certainly looks like it's one of ours.
Tim, I'm curious your thoughts over this. I mean, you've seen some weird aircraft in the past. Does this add up? Does this make sense?
Well, I mean, like I say, I believe Bob Lazar's real, so he was working on reverse engineering. Maybe this was one of the craft, or they took what they learned from his reverse engineering. If I'm sure there was many followed him after he left. The fact that, I mean, the stripes on the sleeve just above the elbow would tell me that person was either a sergeant major or a command master chief in the Navy with different type of insignia. But that level, it came across as he's the highest enlisted man in the Air Force, short of the chief of staff of the Air Force. And so he's an E9. They're like generals, and the fact that he's dressed up and he goes inside tells me that this is ours, or we have been allowed to take someone else's craft and learn how to fly it, and maybe they had to make an emergency landing, or there was something that was amiss that he had to go out and check, because he did have his flashlight on.
That's right.
So he may have been looking at something. If something fell, something rattled, but he needed to stop immediately. And I don't know if the door came down in flight. That could be it, because he is looking at it, and that would be a reason for an immediate. If we can stop on a dime, let's do it right now and park this puppy. And the most convenient way is to go sideways, because you have the largest reflective surface towards the oncoming traffic. If you went tail first or nose first, you could almost, even with those high lights, that could be two individual, motorcycles miles apart, and it's just an optical illusion. So parking on the side, because you had to make an emergency landing because your door opened up, and that is my idea of what we're looking at.
I like that, Jim. I like that analysis. That's good thinking.
Well, one thing that kind of caught me with everything is the open nose, because in the 60s and 50s, there was a lot of testing going on with open nose aircraft, leading back to the F-86 Sabre, going to the A-7, the A-8. Mm-hmm. That was very much a lot of the technology at that time, was that big wind tunnel coming right in the front.
Yeah, that's true. But
there's no. It doesn't appear there's any exhaust or anything in the rear to give it forward propulsion. I'm assuming just by the fact of its landing gear or landing posts, and maybe that's where Elon got his idea on his rocket ships. Because the light is shining on the steps, emergency landing was required, and I think that's what we're looking at. But it's a manned by Americans, or at least our military. And this was 1966.
1966, yes.
Wow.
And what's interesting about this case is when that craft left, he continued driving down the road about another half mile, and he came across a truck driver who was pulled off to the side of the road. He had his driver's side door open, and he was standing on the running boards of the truck. He had just previously encountered the exact same craft that Eddie Laxon had seen. So when Eddie drove up to this truck driver, he said, "Are you okay?" And he described to Eddie what he had just seen. And it was at that point that Eddie Laxon knew that he wasn't the only one that saw it. So there were two eyewitnesses that saw this thing.
No, absolutely. I mean, that is Absolutely amazing, Michael. Michael, we have about 10 minutes left. Is there one more that you could show us?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
We can talk about we'll talk about the 1897 mystery airship wave. Now, it's important to discuss where this actually took place. This actually started in Sacramento, California. It was also seen in Oakland, California, and San Francisco. This is 1897. And what these people are describing is this strange flying craft that kind of had a gondola on the bottom. There was a wing-looking structure on either side. There was a tail. But then most of these eyewitnesses, and there are literally thousands of newspaper clippings about this particular mystery airship that was from the West Coast to the East Coast. And they described these beaming spotlights that were shining down onto the towns below, and it was a chaotic situation. There were people bolting from one side of the street to the other. There were covered wagons that were overturned. There was chaos. People didn't know what these things were. This is 1897. This is before the Wright brothers flew on December 17th, 1903 at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Someone was building these things, and it had a power source on board so that they could have these beaming spotlights. And it's interesting, I'm going to go over a couple of the bullet items here. The wave actually began November 18th, 1896. We mentioned the beaming spotlights coming down. A lot of the eyewitnesses said that they heard laughter coming from these craft. There were ropes that were dropped from these craft. I've also heard reports that the quote-unquote pilots of these craft dropped letters down to people below. And when people opened up the letter and pulled out what was written, it said, quote, basically, "We have figured out a propulsion system that will make and revolutionize all modes of locomotion." That's what they talk about. So they're talking about negating gravity with these craft. This is back in 1897. There are literally hundreds of newspaper clippings. I've got one here, the Record Union, Sacramento, California, November 23rd, 1896. Strange visitors seen there on Saturday evening. They go into the details. But I wanted to mention that in some cases, these craft landed and were quote-unquote making repairs. And when civilians got up to, this was kind of rare, but it did happen, where civilians got up to the craft, they saw the pilots, who were these very eccentric, well-dressed, intellectual inventor types that had suits on, they had a top hat on, and, get a load of this, Dave, they were wearing smoke-colored glasses. And these are the pilots of these craft back in 1897.
Jules Verne type.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looks like the original Nautilus in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
I mean, that looks, going back to the reports that you hear of UFOs of the 1600s. I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is what people were seeing. They weren't seeing flying discs or black triangles or anything like that. I mean, we were seeing like you said, Jim, these Nautilus type ships, like almost like hot air balloons.
Yes. Yeah. It's just.
And you were talking about these early cases, and I think we've got time to do one more here just to fit it in here, because we're talking about these prehistory cases. We always hear about the origin point of ufology being June 24th, 1947, with Kenneth Arnold, who saw the quote-unquote flying saucers as he described them. Well, if you go back to the historical archives within the Clarksburg, West Virginia, and we're talking about the Gray Barker collection here. Pretty difficult to dig this out, but they have a collection of what's known as the Otto Binder reports. Now, Otto Binder was a very prolific writer, and between 1965 to 1969, he wrote a column called Our Space Age, where people from all around the world would send these reports into Otto Binder. He would write the text. He commissioned an artist to do a really interesting, nice little sketch, and then they would be published. And this went on for like 4 years, and there were hundreds of these cases. Just go over a couple of them really quick here. So this is one of these Otto Binder reports. October 12th, 1796, on Columbus Day, over 170 years ago, Canadian observers reported an astonishing fleet of airships, UFOs, with portholes and visible objects sailing over the Bay of Fundy from the Pacific Stars and Stripes. So, Dave, we're talking about October 12th, 1796. These are being reported.
Wow. How can you trust, Michael, a report that's 200 plus years old?
I know. It's difficult. I agree with you. It's hard. But when you put that together with other cases that sort of support this, like we'll go a little bit further ahead here now. This is July 1868. Villagers in Campezo, Chile, were frightened by a giant armor-plated machine covered with steel scales whose twin searchlight eyes stabbed down brilliantly. Now, this was before the 1897 mystery airship wave, and they are reporting the exact same thing that people in Sacramento had reported. So this actually adds to the credibility of the case.
Fantastic. I think we got time. If you got one more, Mike, we got about 3.5 minutes.
Oh, sure, no problem. We can do one here. Let's talk about USO. So you've got unidentified submerged objects, and according to Jacques Vallée, and we'll just go over here, the government-sponsored 1969 University of Colorado $600,000 condo report failed to mention any USO cases. So the point I'm making here is, when they released this report, according to Jacques Vallée, like 50% of all UFO cases are in point of fact USO cases, and they missed 50% of the evidence. How can you have an objective examination of this phenomenon when you're missing out on 50% of the cases? This is just unbelievable. And that's where these USO cases come in.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Is there a big difference in the size of the craft from USOs to UAP?
It's a very good question. We do have reports, this is 1955 timeframe, where these USOs are basically punching through 37 feet of solid ice and then going out into space. This is 1955 Operation Deep Freeze, Admiralty Bay, and this is the USCGC Eastwind, where they saw this bullet-shaped craft punch through the ice, and it had these huge chunks of ice flying out into the atmosphere and then slamming down with a big booming noise. And then it had this circular cutout hole where it left, and there was bubbling, boiling water where this thing took off. And so I think it's interesting because with our Navy fast attack submarines, we can go through 37 inches of solid ice, but not 37 feet of solid ice. Jim, do you want to comment on that?
I mean, the hulls of the New Virginia class, and of course the old Seawolf and the New Columbia class are all built with, they call HY 100, and it can stand 100,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, and that's what you need when you have a deep diving or a fast sub. But if you can crush the top of the sail, if you run into it in another a surfaced ship, which happens every once in a while. No, you couldn't go through 37 feet. You couldn't go through 10 feet.
Yeah.
3, 2. I would say up to maybe 3 feet. But again, I'm just, from what I've seen, my last submarine book, I had a number of photos showing them coming, through the ice. But they always find with their sonar, their forward facing sonar, they always are able to find thin areas where they can surface.
Gotcha.
Maybe 50 feet away, it's 10 feet thick, but where they decide to come up, you're at maybe 1.5 to 3 feet, and that they can push through.
They can push through. Okay. So it's pretty much clear then that 37 feet is not even in the ballpark, right?
Not even close.
Not even close. Okay.
I mean, it would be the equivalent of running into solid granite.
Yeah, that's right.
Water doesn't compress, and No, it's just not gonna happen.
Right. So
Gentlemen,
yeah,
yeah,
is
sorry,
doing it in
Michael. Go ahead.
1955. Someone was doing it in 1955, doing it. So,
Gentlemen, it is that time for us to say goodnight. Michael, congratulations on your brand new book, Dark Files, A Pictorial History of Lost, Forgotten, and Obscure UFO Encounters. You deserve it, my friend, and we encourage all of our Spaced Out Radio listeners to go buy Michael's book on Amazon. Mr. Goodall, we'll
Yes,
talk to
sir.
you very soon as well. Spaced Out Radio continues with Hour 3 right after this. Michael, I could say that I sure don't feel like I did you justice tonight. You're just so damn good. You're so damn good.
No, thank you very much.
And I agree 100%.
So good to have you on board, Jim. Really is.
Yeah, I'm just. I mean, you're the star of the show. I'm just a casual.
No.
Oh man, you guys are, both of you are so brilliant and so amazing. Like I said, there is nothing more that we could say about high praise for you guys. And Jim, obviously, with your wife going through what she's going through, for you to join us, that is wonderful. Thank you so much. And please, for all our Spaced Out Radio listeners, please send Jim's wife love and healing and prayers, and let's send some good vibes over to her, because, hey, when you go through what she's going through right now, we all need it sometime. And Jim's one of the good ones, and so is his wife, and we need to be able to send those positive vibes and healing vibes over, Jim, and we're all going to do that for you.
Appreciate it. And I don't come on to the show or listen to it enough, but I always enjoy just your company via the internet. And and Michael knows. I mean, Michael knows that where I stand. So
yeah.
Well, Jim, if you're ever bored and you just want to come on and join, just let me know. I'll always bring you on.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. I mean,
yeah, man.
And I'm looking forward to maybe going back on Lynn's show, as someone to be interviewed. I think we really started to get on a roll, and I think it was getting very, very late her time when we finally decided to end the conversation. It's all up here.
Yeah.
I feel it's my job, like what Michael does. If I don't know something, I'll tell you. I'm not going to try to feed you a line of crap. But if I know the answer or what I believe is the answer, I'll let you know. And like I say, I've been around a long time, so I've had a lot of experiences and done a lot of crazy stuff. And I look back where I'm coming from, where I've came from, and I'm just astonished. I really am. I've been blessed. I mean, I never made a lot of money. I mean, I made a comfortable living, but I never made a lot of money. I have a handful of people that I cherish. Yeah, there's two of them right here. I have some, and I have friends of over 60. Not anymore 60, but pretty soon it'll be 60 years. It's 57 years. No, it'll be 60 this year. I met them in 1962, September 10th. I met my best friend. His name's Rick Branham. He lives in Linwood, Washington, and for all intents and purposes, he's my brother. People say, well, are you keeping anything from anybody? Hell no. It doesn't do it doesn't the world any good if you don't share your knowledge. That's why I was trying to get Michael to get off his butt and do something. I'm pretty sure it'll be a success. I like it.
Oh, geez. I accidentally kicked Michael. Son of a gun.
Oh,
that was my fault. That was my fault. I hit the wrong button. Shit. Oh. Damn it.
You want me to call
I can't. Well, I got to get going here, Jim, anyways, because I got to get ready for the next hour.
Okay.
But I will message him right here. And where is he here? Where are you, Michael? Michael, I accidentally booted you. Michael, I accidentally booted you. My bad. I am so sorry.
But anytime, absolutely anytime.
Anytime you want to come on. There he is. There he is.
Oh,
I was just messing. Michael, that was my fault. I'm so sorry, man.
That's okay. That's okay.
Oh my God, I've
That's okay.
kicked you up the ass here.
he doesn't love you anymore.
Yeah, no, that's not true. That is not true.
Oh.
Actually, I went to remove the your computer from my screen, and it booted you instead. So
okay.
that's what happened. But Michael, congratulations on your book. You deserve it. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. All of us who read that book are going to be better off for it. It's going to teach us so much. And knowing your work and what you do, I can't speak highly enough of you, your research and everything. And I'm just so proud to call you a friend and a friend of this show.
Looking forward to seeing you, Dave. That's great. And I'll send you a book too.
And there's no fluff, or they're not.
Mm-hmm.
He's not throwing a bunch of filler in there. The crap just to fill in space. Everything he's done. You look at his supporting documents. I mean, it's there. It's right there.
I agree.
And so again, Michael, I am so very, very proud of the book, and thank you very, very much for dedicating it to me.
Of course. It's my honor. It's my honor.
Very nice. Gentlemen, I unfortunately have to run here because I got to get the third hour underway here, but thank you. Much love. We will see you both at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, April 22nd to 24th for the Vegas Spaced Out Radio Fan Party. You guys are going to be there. I can't wait to see you guys.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
All right, boys. Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Good night, everybody. Here we go.
Okay. See ya.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you all with us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are from this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And Clam's got for us Zafri. Zafri is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we take a big look at another great freaky story, courtesy of Swamp Dweller, as we enter the swamp.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp.
Number 2 by Todd B. Some backstory. My town is a fairly small town in central Oklahoma. Known for a huge oil boom in the 1920s and 30s. It's unknown what the school is built on, but it's certainly a hotspot. Let's also not forget this is Oklahoma. Therefore, it's very questionable as to what the school is built on. My grandmother works at this school. She has for about 27 years, if I'm correct. The school was built in 1972. with an addition of the cafeteria and gym in the 80s. The first story happened to my grandmother, probably 15 to 20 years ago. Whistling was heard all around the school, loud, but it was never known where it came from. My grandmother figured it was most likely the band teacher. He's been there for some time, as long as I can remember, and he's been there since before I was born. He still teaches today, and I can confirm the whistles. A lot. At some point within about a week, my grandmother got used to the whistling and just began ignoring it, even on days when nobody was at the school with her. One day, she heard the whistling. Not thinking much of it, she just continued working. A man walked up to her in a grey wool suit, something far out of style. She sees him, stops him, and says, "Hey, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." He stops, looks at her, stops whistling, smiles, and begins whistling again. He proceeds to walk into a classroom, and the door slams shut behind him. It took her some time before she finally decided to open the door. There was nothing in there. The room had a window, but there's a screen. The window was closed and the screen was unbothered, as it cannot be opened. The next story takes place later, roughly 2014 to 2016. I'm in about 4th to 6th grade. The school is a 4th to 6th grade elementary school, so I'd go with her in the mornings. At that time, I'd be at school no matter what. For a little while, I get bored of cartoons and knew of ghost stories. I decided I need to scare her while cleaning her classrooms. I knew of a class that had a perfect hiding spot right outside the door. I'd knock on a locker right next to the door and wait for her to investigate and jump out and scare her. I did this often until I got bored of it. But it seems somebody seemed to enjoy it. I was watching cartoons since my interests went back to those days, and my grandmother comes running into the teacher's lounge and asks if I did what I normally do. I denied, of course, and she believed me. Years later, I found out what happened. She was cleaning the classroom I'd always scare her at. It was a normal routine for her at this point. Clean the room, hear a knock on the locker. She had enough of it and just said, "Okay, little man," my childhood nickname they still call me, to be honest, despite being about 5'10" now. "You don't scare me." And a little girl runs in giggling. The girl runs under the table and my grandma looks, sees nothing and simply says, "Okay, you scared me," and finally finishes up the classroom and moves on. This little girl ghost I seem to have influenced isn't aggressive. She was never seen there until after I played my games. And it seems she still has her fun on teachers to this day. I deep down consider her a friend for keeping my stupid little games a reality, but in a far more scary and somewhat cool way. My third story again involves my grandmother. I have a few that involve me as well, but my grandmother's are far more interesting. This one happened in 2019. She was in an accident heading up to Norman, Oklahoma. About halfway there, she was sideswiped by a pickup. Luckily, she was fine. Merely got some whiplash and a repaired Ford Fusion. She was out of work for about a month. She returned and was cleaning a classroom, one to the right of the one I played my pranks on her in. She was cleaning it, and she bent down to pick something up, only to come back up and be completely surrounded by people, all of them in clothing far out of style today, and all of them being spirits she's previously seen, all of which said simultaneously, "We've missed you," before disappearing. She wasn't in fear of any of them. Here's a few of my own at the school. I don't really see anything, but I feel things, and I have heard things. I've never really felt anything aggressive, other than the one in the library. But even so, it is more of a don't mess with me and I won't mess with you type. I've always imagined it as a gangster. I also remember there were lots of orbs in the gym, just everywhere on the infrared security camera. I heard lockers bang on occasion, and a girl and I heard a piano play on its own. I remember a lot of kids also saying things about how the room the man walked into had an odd feeling to it. I still feel things anytime I'm over there.
Oh, big thank you to the Swamp Dweller. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. Hit subscribe on his channel, and you can get literally hundreds of spooky stories that he's compiled over the last 6 years. Yeah, the Swamp Dweller, we thank him and his support of Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. It is time once again where we bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. All right, we love it when Big Bad John is here as we are looking towards some interesting stories tonight. And I'll tell you, big thank you, John, for always coming on in and joining us. How you been, bud?
I'm doing good. How about you, man?
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little hungry.
You're a little hungry.
I had a fantastic dinner tonight, but at this time of night, I've gotten myself into a habit of eating apples when I'm done the show. I usually have one apple. The odd time I'll have two. But I'm just at that point now, man, where around this time of night, when normal people are sleeping, I'm getting hungry. So I'm almost craving.
You're definitely out of sync because you definitely don't want hunger to be interfering with your schedule in any way, shape, or form.
Well, you know what I do eat, John, just in case I'm out of apples. I also like celery with peanut butter. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
You put little raisins on it and pretend they're ants too?
No, I don't put the raisins on.
Okay.
But celery with peanut butter, fantastic.
I'm
fantastic.
Sorry, that wasn't nice. I apologize.
No, absolutely.
There's no reason why someone shouldn't like that. I think the last time I had that, I was seriously like in the second grade. So.
Come on, little Johnny, eat the ends on the peanut butter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh man.
Oh, this is why we love you, buddy. This is why we love you. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's always a good time when you were here. What's going on in the UFO world tonight, my friend?
Oh, nothing. I don't know. It's kind of boring. But no, actually, there's some fun stuff going on, and it's neat because a lot of these articles, a lot of these topics can get very serious and interesting if you dive deep into them. But if you just take them on the surface level, a lot of them are just kind of fun and interesting. And so one of the first ones, which I typically avoid these kind of stories like the plague because I understand how optics work. But they did actually find small glass marbles on the moon. And so, whether, someone's going to go so far as to claim this is proof that some ancient tribe was playing marbles on the moon or not, I won't go that far yet. But what's really interesting is if you read the article, it turns out they've found these glass balls on the moon before. And they're a known result of certain types of impacts. What's different about these is they're much larger than what they usually see. And some of them appear to have varying opacity. How opaque they are seems to vary. And so they want to do some testing on it and so forth. But essentially, it turns out it is actually a natural phenomenon. But it's one of those things where, I've studied the moon quite a bit, and I did not know that these had been found before on the moon, right? So the first time I read it, I was like, why are we just seeing these for the first time? Turns out we're not. But super fun story just because it looks like we were paying NASA to go up onto the moon and play marbles with the Chinese.
Well, you know what, though? I mean, you look, nothing came out of that Chinese picture just before Christmas where there was that block that seemed to be sitting and standing out. And I guess it was a rock formation that just kind of looked weird from the distance. I mean, let's just be honest here, John. I mean, the way that we're starting to look at the moon and what could be there, I mean, even the photograph that was taken on Mars recently, where there seemed to be a big chunk of metal, like a round cylinder type of metal that was photographed. Obviously, it's from some sort of NASA craft or something along that lines, because they wouldn't show us if it was anything alien or historic, you know. But I mean, I think it's interesting when we find these little anomalies now on the moon or even on Mars. I mean, it just makes it so much more intriguing. Like, what's next? Even though they're not going to show us the juice, you know.
Well, but the thing is that what I'm really enjoying about it is we're finally starting to get a cadence and a process to it where essentially we're able to fail, at least get into a state where you can either fail something or put it in limbo, right? And that's not as great as being able to fail and pass. But if you can at least fail in limbo, then at least now you have some sort of a sorting mechanism where you can make some progress.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I mean,
but I mean, the thing is it is a really good example for everyone because, you know, if you go, 20 years from now and look at all the weird things we're going to find on the moon, 97% of them are probably going to end up being really weird, fundamentally mundane natural phenomenon. But there's going to be some percentage of stuff that's going to be just really weird. And whether that's going to be the source of that is going to be an ancient alien contact, a recent alien contact, an asteroid contact, whatever. I have no idea what it could be. It could be anything. But there will be some percentage of stuff that's like, whoa, where are we with that? And that's the fun stuff. That's the good stuff in science is never the, oh, I thought so, or oh, finally. It's the, huh?
Right.
And the what? That's where real science happens.
You know what interests me, John, is you think the moon has been there for millions of years. Okay. I mean, it has taken impact after impact after impact. We really don't have any idea what is hiding on underneath the dust of the moon. I mean, there could be, we have a clue just by the small samples we've taken.
We know pretty deep though, because what we do is we actually shoot shotgun shells into the ground, and it causes the ground to explode, and then we collect all the debris. And so we've actually gone, but I mean, you get deeper than, a couple feet. And that's why, some of the recent lava caverns that have been found have been so surprising because, some of them were just right out in the open, and we didn't know they were there. So, but the thing is that the moon it's an amazing place because what people forget is that because, so look, the fact that it's in lockstep orbit with us, that's actually not as special as it sounds. It is special. We're very grateful. The moon, thank you. It's awesome. We appreciate you, what you do. But there are other places where that happens. But it is a special relationship in that what it does is it essentially turns the moon into a shield. And that's what the moon is. It's a shield. And it's been a shield for a long time. And you want to wonder how good of a shield it's been? Take a look. It's taken a beating, right? And essentially we have those outer planets like Saturn that take most of the brunt of what comes in to get us. But if things get past there, the moon is one of our last defenses.
It really is. It really is. I'm just curious because, one day, we haven't explored a lot of the Earth. A lot of the moon. We have with cameras. We haven't really been up there since 1970 something, right? I think it was 76 or 77. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure somebody will do that. We do have soil samples for much of the moon's mapped out very well now. I would actually argue we know more about the moon now than we do the Earth. Probably. You don't have any obstacles. You don't have any obstacles. You don't have water. You don't have trees, mountains. Well, and it doesn't change. No. I just look at it, man, as you know what, I still think that one day we're going to find something up there that is going to
No,
just
we
be
will.
wow.
We will, because what the other thing that the moon is it's a time capsule, right?
Yes.
Because everything that hits it is a timestamp, and it's a timestamp for the source of the object, but it's not a relative timestamp to the surface. So you have this incredible ability to actually really honestly map with a true index. It's an amazing thing.
Very true. Very true. John, let's move on to story number 2 here with you tonight. 2 documented cases of Wonder Woman's invisible jet landing at a United States Air Force base. You got to be kidding.
Yeah. No, this is good stuff. You know, I've always been a big fan of Wonder Woman, and I think that you know, if they got her on the payroll, that's good for all of us. Probably not good for some of those countries that don't like fighting women, but hey, what this is this is the kind of story that I love, and this is a great story for tonight, because this is very much the kind of story that Michael Schratt and our friend Jim Goodall go for, because a lot of times these stories are limited, but they're powerful. And so what this is an article out of the Drive, and this is a retired Air Force officer, and where he talks about these 2 times that he saw something really freaking weird, or more accurately, didn't see something really, really weird during his time in the Air Force. And I encourage you to go read the article, but the quick synopsis of it is it happened to him twice. It happened to him once at Diego Garcia. If you guys know anything about Diego Garcia, you'll know what a interesting place it is and how unpleasant it is to be there. Really unpleasant. And well, I mean, depending on what you like to do. And then the second one was actually stateside in I lost the name of the place, but basically at a pretty off the kilt town, like way out of the way in the south. And essentially in both cases, what you had an announcement going that they were to clear the runway, an announcement going out that they were to evacuate the runway and everyone was to stay indoors, an announcement that they should avoid the windows to protect the security of the project. Now, what I'm just describing, that's all normal, right? That's all stuff that they'll do anytime any kind of a top secret plane lands at a base where the majority of the base isn't, because most bases aren't, right? So this is very normal. But here's the problem. At the first case in Diego Garcia, they did this and they all waited. And they waited to hear the touchdown of high pressure brakes wheels. They waited to hear the compression of brake discs. They waited to hear, they waited to hear some indication that the event had happened. Nothing for 30 minutes. No sound, no lights, nothing appeared to touch down. And after 30 minutes, all the lights came back on and everything went back to normal. And the same thing happened to him again many years later at this other base. Not exactly the same, but incredibly close. Now, you could argue that there was someone else coming on the base during that time that didn't fly, I suppose, but that's pretty hard to argue at Diego Garcia. And there's no conclusion from this. So this isn't like a satisfying, debunking story by any sorts, but this is the fun stuff, right? Because this is just honest. This is just straight. This is just what he saw, what he felt, what he heard. And, it's our job to take that and try to stitch it together with other stories and see if we can make some sense of it. But the story on itself is just, I don't know, to me, it's just a really cool story.
A lot of times we see something like this happen, whether it's secret craft or whether it is something extraterrestrial, that the airmen, the airwomen, the crews, they all get pushed into buildings with the blinds down, the doors locked, that they can't see what is going on. Is that kind of what happened here?
Yeah, exactly what was reported for the Phoenix Lights. That is standard operating procedure. Right? Because honestly, you're doing everyone a favor, right? Because if you are not cleared to see something and you see it, it's a hassle. big time. I mean, one, you might get in trouble, but if you don't get in trouble, it's going to be a lot of paperwork. Let me tell you, right? It's not going to, so they're doing you a favor by protecting you from seeing it by mistake.
John, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We love our fedora-wearing John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report, which is going to continue when we come back. I still can't believe invisible jets like Wonder Woman flew. I got to drill John on this when we come back on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. More right after this. All right, we're clear. So apparently we now have Russia and what's the country just north of them? Belarus bombing the Ukraine. Apparently Israel is now firing missiles and bombing Syria. And yeah.
So that's the only part about this that concerns me even the slightest, other than obviously the safety and livelihood of the Ukrainian people, by all means. I didn't mean to say it that way. It is the secondary and tertiary effects that can happen. The fact that there are people who are waiting around to settle scores. They're just waiting for an excuse, or waiting, or that there's some action they want to take, and they're waiting for a reason. And so all these people take these very opportunistic approaches to an event like this, and it's just it makes me nauseous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I it's the first I've heard of what you're saying, and I have no idea what Israel has that led them to strike Syria that way. But the thing is that if you assume, and I don't know if it's a safe assumption, but if you assume that there's no direct relationship between those two events, then what possible reason could you pick to do this right now? Right? I mean, it's like it's bad optics.
Yep. Not happy. Not happy at all.
I will say this, that I personally have been, when the Soviet Union fell, for those of us that were aware of the politics of it all, of what was going on at the time, it was something else. And it would have been really magical if David Hasselhoff hadn't ruined it all for us. But the thing was that I was always surprised personally that everything that wasn't originally the USSR wasn't reclaimed. Like I was really surprised that all those countries were actually left at all by themselves, at all autonomous in any way, shape, or form. I was really blown away. Historically, right? Countries don't do that. They don't give up land. It's I don't know. I guess it's considered bad form or something. Maybe there's some country handbook somewhere, but it's not common.
I know. It's harsh right now. Harsh. Now, the good news, if you haven't heard, our Prime Minister actually took down the Emergency Act today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Maybe seeing a real emergency helped kind of put, other emergencies into perspective. Because, the thing that I can't help but think about with all this, right, is, let's up-level it from all the discussion about physical safety. How is this going to affect the college prospects? of all the kids in those regions? How is it going to affect the delivery of medical services to normal people during normal stuff, not even during the bombings, during normal stuff, for pregnancies, for this and that, for just life? That's the part that drives me nuts.
Hey, my great grandfather came over. He escaped because he knew at 14 or 15, him and his best friend, after my great grandfather's brother was murdered by the Bolsheviks in 1918, him and his teenage friend, they stowed away, made their way on a railway cart because they knew the Russians were going to kill them. They made their way down to the Seaway. They stowed away on a ship over to Europe and then stowed away over to Canada. And that's how my family got here.
Nice.
And
do you know what they actually put themselves in?
No, but I don't know much. But the point that I'm getting at, we've got 5 seconds, is, this sucks. This sucks. I got family there.
Yep.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the fedora-wearing John Hudson and the unbiased UFO report. And right before the break, John was telling us this weird story about 2 times where this Wonder Woman-like aircraft, invisible aircraft, landed at United States Air Force bases. Now, John, do we know, in a roundabout way, were these our aircraft or someone else's?
Oh, well, okay. I suppose you have to acknowledge the fact that there's a small probability that it could have been another group's craft that had been invited to land. However, that is that's really unlikely. It's far more likely that this was our craft. Now, it could also have been a reclaimed craft of some sort. In the case of the plane that was seen, down south, this was a facility that was, way off the beaten path. He talks about the fact that, there would be like, a week-long stretch where nothing would happen. So they were fully aware of the fact that this base was completely out of the way. And, essentially, he never got any kind of answer out of it, right? It's the driest flight line is this other location, and he never got any answer from it. And the thing is that I don't know if you ever would, because the thing is that if you have technology that can allow a craft to land silently, you're likely to replicate that feature on other craft. And so even looking back, you might go, well, I know that these 3 craft were operating in that time period, and it could have been one of those, but I don't even know if you're ever going to know exactly what craft it was.
I just can't imagine flying a glass aircraft, but obviously it's not going to be glass. it's got to be made out of something else.
Well, no, what it is it's a plane that, because I mean the thing is that everything's, they pulled on all the blinds, right? So they're not used to seeing anything, but what they are used to seeing is lights, right? Something like a glint of something, a sense of movement, seeing something move. Sound really was the big deal, right? Sound was the big deal about this. Nothing. And the thing is that, time and time again, I mean, he was at that one base, that dry space, for 10 years, and never saw anything like this again. I mean, this was a complete one-off. And in the case of that one, in the case of Diego Garcia, it seemed like it was more normal operating, and that makes some sense in that Diego Garcia gets some pretty, I mean, they get the B2, so they get whatever is needed. But essentially what they were told was that we were advised. It says we were advised that Navy was conducting sensitive operations out of a large red dilapidated hangar at the north end of the airfield. And I mean, they just get notified like it's standard operating business. But what they're used to hearing during that period of time is sound of any sort, right? And the thing is that you there's so many ways. I mean, you can just it is possible to record your own sound and play it back in an inverted way that it will cancel out to a degree. I mean, there's noise canceling technology, has gotten quite far, but and I know we do have that helicopter that can land without making a sound. So it's possible that's what it was. It's possible that what landed was some aspect of the copter that landed in Bin Laden's compound.
Very true. Very true. We got time for one more story with you tonight, my friend, as we continue on with the unbiased UFO report with the fedora wearing John Hudson. Congress is done. What do you got going on here?
So this was more of a just an enjoying the posture of this article that was written by Christopher Sharp over at Liberation Times, basically talking about the fact that in laying out in some detail that he believes that Congress has reached the point of being done with the waffling, done with the lack of certainty, done with the lack of consistency. Basically is starting to really kind of turn on the screws from the point of view of trying to get information out of people, and he basically kind of lays that out in a nice concise way, and I'll provide a link, everyone check it out. But the other big part that came out of this story was that it was an email that basically included Susan Go, that basically confirmed that examination of UAP incursions has continued up until now at the 2021 levels. So basically what came out of this information was that there has been absolutely no slowdown at all in events whatsoever. And
so
that's not that we haven't heard that before, but it's nice to be hearing that from another source.
Well, the interesting part about this is Susan Go being the front runner and the face of the entire Pentagon / alphabet agency's stories there. I mean, she has been so steadfast over the years that none of this was truly happening. Does this put a little bit of egg on her face, or I told you so, on her plate?
Well, yeah, I'm guessing she got bonused based on people not believing in UFOs, and so I'm gonna guess her performance plan isn't all that shiny right now. But the thing is that the thing we have to remember is that the likelihood that Susan Go personally cares a blip about this topic is very low, and what is really more likely is that she is a very aggressive performer at whatever task she's given. And unfortunately, someone has given her the task of trying to shut this up. And she's executed pretty well at it.
I think she's
not
done
well enough. Not well enough, but she's done pretty well.
Yeah.
And been rewarded for it.
Yeah, that's well, I mean, obviously you need a strong press person in order to get
Yes.
through a
Yes.
lot
And
of that.
we've seen what happens when you don't have one. So yes, you do. You need a very strong person, without a doubt. And the thing is that on other topics she does well.
I'm sorry?
On other topics she does well. I mean,
Yes,
if you don't have a care about it, right? Then, you know.
But I can just imagine, and I'm not defending her here, but I can just imagine the uncomfortability she would have regarding that, you know, and but I mean the denial. I mean, this goes back right to the Lou Elizondo conversation that we had yesterday. The denial of the fact that she was even denying that, you know, it was almost like Lou who
I know.
who you talking about?
I know, and the thing is, you know how this world works. You know what this means? This means that in her own personal life, there are at least two people, probably one friend and one family member, that razz her about this all the time. Like just constantly tease her about it, because how could you not? I mean, if you knew her personally, how could you not tease her about this? It's ridiculous. But it's her job.
Oh, I understand that. But I mean, just the fact that this must be just seething through her teeth to be talking about UFOs being real, man.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Well, yeah, because I mean, ultimately, it's you know, any partisan disclosure is at some level her failure, I guess, in a weird way. I mean, I hope she doesn't see it that way, but she could, depending on how she was tasked, right? So the fact that she's become a source of information to let us know that, you know, incursions have continued and investigations have continued, well, it's damn kind of her.
Well, I agree with you, John. It is damn kind of her, but I mean, I don't know. Look, in the end, she's a PR person. That's her job. You know, she has to spin it any way her bosses want.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't matter. That's what a PR person does. You know,
Absolutely.
and for a lot of people who don't understand, I mean, it could be raining cats and dogs outside, but she will tell you, if her bosses tell you, or any good PR person will tell you, that it is a bright, sunshiny, blue sky day, and get your towel and head off to the beach, because that's what's going on outside. That's what a good PR person does, and they can convince people of anything. Almost like, you know, an Emergencies Act is necessary in Canada when it really isn't, right? I mean, it's amazing what a good PR staff can do. Did I go
put,
there?
sir. Well put,
Did
sir.
I
Well
go
put,
there?
sir. Well put.
You know?
Well put. Yes, totally agreed. Totally agreed. Oh no, I mean,
You know,
look, I mean,
but
yeah, yep.
how's the media? Okay, like Liberation Times, they've really been getting some good stories regarding all of this in the last 6-7 months, especially.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
no,
I mean,
they've been doing good work, and Christopher himself has been writing some nice stuff. It's been really nice. It's a new voice, and it's a nice new voice.
it is. It very much is. I mean, did he get any quotes or try talking to Susan Go regarding this article?
If basically, unlike his previous articles, this one's actually pretty short and sweet. He basically just gives you kind of a nice synopsis of you know what you know what's you know what was being what you know what he thinks is impacting things, and what he thinks is driving these. But you know, then he basically, you know, slips in that, trying to think if I could find the actual quote where he talks about it. But the other nice thing is that in the Liberation Times article, there's a nice nod to our buddies over at the UFO Garage.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, did you catch their interview with Lou Elizondo yesterday?
I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, they were fantastic with him. Fantastic with him. I had to. I was talking to Ben via Messenger afterwards, and they just did an incredible job with Lou.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
no. Well, the thing is that, you know, is that he likes them,
Oh yeah.
and they like him, and therefore it's nice.
But
And it's that simple.
John, for Friday, for the actually we're off on, but the next time you're on, you have to listen to the last 10 minutes of that show. Lou drops a couple of big bombs on there.
Oh, very
that like, for instance, he made out when he was asked about Roswell. He took audience questions. He was asked about Roswell, and he said, he goes, I can't give details on it. He goes, but do you really think that the Army or any military branch would send out a commanding officer and surrounding hundreds of troops for a Mylar balloon? Number one. And then the other thing that he said is they brought in a 3-axle heavy hauling trailer. You don't bring in a trailer that size for a Mylar balloon.
Yep, that ends up being an important point for that one, and also for the Aztec case.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yep. And there's a lot more in there. If you're interested in what Lou Elizondo said, I highly suggest you go onto YouTube, type in UFO Garage, hit that subscribe button, and watch that interview. The last 10, 15 minutes are incredible. News.
Especially because one of the nice things when people do these multiple interviews is you do get a different view of them from each person. But the truth is, there tends to be some consistency. Those two guys, they bring out a different side in folks, and it's a really good thing. And you get to see a different angle, so it's an awesome thing to watch. So definitely check it out.
Will do. All right, my friend, another good run at the UFO report. The fedora-wearing John Hudson, awesome as ever, bud. Awesome as ever.
Thank you.
Let's get to Shirky Poo's news.
Yep.
All right, let's see what Shirky Poo has for us. Huge rats that are capable of treading water could be coming to a toilet near you. Yes. This is apparently happening as rats are being seen more and more digging their way into your water pipes and entering your home, according to one pest control expert. Ian Halens, the aforementioned expert, says the rats, some of them the size of cats, seem to be taking over. Says, I, for one, welcome our new rodent overlords. Basically, the population of rats is on the rise big time, and that means more and more vermin might be out there looking for somewhere to stay warm and reproduce. I have had more call-outs, Ian says, than ever from homeowners who have heard a noise, looked down their toilet, only to find a giant rat staring at their you-know-whats. Yeah, no one is safe, apparently, from this rat infestation. They are excellent swimmers, bendy bones, and can squeeze into the smallest places. They can hold their breath for up to 3 minutes and tread water for 3 days. And they're coming up the waste pipe, so you know that your doo-doo doesn't matter to them. They are cunning, they are getting bolder and bolder, and if they want to get into your home, they will. Oh, there is the warning. There it is. I mean, look, we see this in Australia, in other places where snakes are coming up the toilet clogs and giving you a little tickle on the hiney with their tongue. Okay, that is scary enough. But the fact that some ugly buck-toothed rat, that pretty much looks like Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins, literally coming up to your toilet and then all of a sudden giving you a little nip, no siree. This is where I'm proud to live in the cold. Proud to live in the cold. Oh, scary story here. A driver believes that he may have spotted a 6-foot goat man roaming around a village. Yeah, apparently this is going on in Northamptonshire village of Staverton in the UK. People traveling by car were shocked to see a large figure looming out over them in the darkness. A hunt for this creature, for just a moment, is now underway. They're wondering what is going on. What kind of void did this thing come from? The person who spotted it immediately consulted the internet, posting a question about this creature. We have been away for a few nights and traveling back quite late. Towards the end of our journey, this was about 2 a.m., we were driving along an A road in a rural area when something crossed the road in front of us in full headlights for about 3 seconds. It was about the height of a person, maybe 6 feet or over, but had short, powerful legs and hips which seemed to move in a circular, fluid fashion. It was not a deer because it stood on 2 legs. This was in the Midlands, and the area is traditional rolling fields and woodland. In this particular spot, there are no houses or buildings. Nearest is about over a mile away. We drove back today, and it's only 7 miles from home to look at the road layout, and whatever it was moved into a wide bowl-shaped field, dropping off down near a stream. Any ideas? Well, apparently it's nothing natural. Goat man, it has to be. So let's give one for the Goat Man hiding out in the UK right now. All right. I don't know what to think of this one. And you know, it could only happen in Florida. A Florida lawyer could literally lose her license after being charged with disorderly conduct, according to an arrest report. 49-year-old Kelly Elkins, she's from Beach Lounge in St. Pete Beach, was entering the beach lounge, at around 2:15, but was intoxicated to the point that the manager refused to serve her. So instead of just, saying, thank you, good night, going to try the next bar, no. Ms. Elkins here decided to go into the restroom, stripped off her clothes, came back out, completely buck naked, and refused to get dressed. This was her protest. The presence of the cops did nothing to encourage her. She reminded them she is a lawyer, but no, she has been, no. I don't even know where to go with this. Yeah, she's also a licensed real estate broker and admitted to the Florida bar in 2001. Now she's being charged. She's been released on her own recognizance. That's got to be embarrassing. Not going to lie. Finally tonight, doctors suspect a woman who was dumped at a New York hospital died from a botched butt injection. You can't make this up. The 53-year-old from Connecticut was driven in her own vehicle to a medical center in the Bronx by 2 women earlier this month, then dumped her naked from the waist down and claimed they wanted to help her after finding her in distress at a nearby cemetery. The Good Samaritans then took off, leaving the car behind. The hospital called police shortly after the woman died. There were numerous injections into her buttocks and injections with an unknown substance. The woman was found with numerous injections to her butt, and it appeared she was injected with something that was trying to make her butt look a little bit more bubbly. Her death is being considered suspicious. They are waiting autopsy results. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the amazing news tonight. Thank you to the fedora-wearing John Hudson for taking part in the UAP report. Swamp Dweller for another great story from his Swamp Dweller channel on YouTube. And, of course, Michael Schratt and Jim Goodall for hanging out with us and being awesome guests tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Do me a favor, get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. You made it so much fun. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right, there's another good show wrapped up in the books there. Hot damn, Michael Schratt and Jim Goodall were good tonight. Wow. Friggin' amazing. Absolutely amazing. Beautiful show. Beautiful show. Thomas Fessler, I know you're in here right now. You got to get Michael Schratt on your show. You really do. You would absolutely love him. Him and Jim Goodall, amazing people. Amazing people. What am I doing here? Hey, I can take these off. Fedora went to bed. I don't have to listen to those anymore. Woohoo! Move that over there. And, well, that was a quick download. Go here. While I'm just quickly doing this, guys, give me a couple of seconds here. I got to hit the loo here. So please be, just take your time. Hang on out. And I'll be back here in a couple seconds. All right. All right. Let's make this radio stuff happen. All right. Normalize that. How you guys doing tonight? Friggin' snowing outside. Like I needed snow right now. Hey, Manuel, Mars was good. Hey, Fap, I'm going to tell you right now, the only reason why I'm wearing this all the time now is just to bug you. Literally just to bug you. That's it, man. That's all.
We're watching.
Here. I got to go get Doug. He wants to come in. I'll be right back. Good boy. Good boy. You want to come to work for the last half hour or what? Huh? You lay down. Lay down, buddy. All right. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. 223. Schratt. Yes. And we're good to go. We got Iron Dogger. How you doing, man? Doug is, let's see if I can get him here. He's down here. There he is. Say hi, Doug Stevenson. He's at bedtime mode. All right, there we go. I screwed my camera up. There we go. All right. Let's make this show happen. Oh, undo. What the Sam hell did I just do? Undo, delete. Undo, delete. Copy and paste. That was scary there for a quick second. Yeah, Big Doug. He's a good dog. He's a good dog. I enjoy him. Let's go here. All right, let's get to editing now. Close that out. Close TweetDeck. So we don't need that one now. And let's edit. Because that's what we do at this time of night. We edit. And where's the beginning of this show? Probably around right there. Or right there. One of the two. There we go. Hi, Body Tech. Good morning to you. Oh, what kind of dog are you going to get? Manuel, let's just say that a rat is a rat is a rat. And sometimes a rat goes down with the ship. And that's what I think is going to happen, to answer your question. What do you think? You like the short hair? No, I haven't cut it. No, I did not. It's all pulled back right now. So that should be that right there. Cut that there. And then pride of the fleet, which did a Mach 2.3, I believe.
I don't think so.
Up in the air 20 minutes.
No, it says that they
can't see anything. So that, damn it. Undo, delete. Undo, paste. So let's go like this. Let's go like this. Corneliuson Gallery and Nick McKay. Well, thank you for tuning in, man. The good news is I don't work tomorrow. So I have a day off, which I will spend in the studio working here, both on SOR and on Canada's Great Unknown. So that is really cool. It'll be a busy day tomorrow, but that's quite okay. I usually average, it's 12:13 here. I usually will get to bed between 12:47 and 1 a.m. And then I will get to bed, fall asleep. I used to play games and all this kind of stuff to kind of curb my mind a little bit, but I noticed that it was giving me a pretty bad sleep. I will get usually on average six to 6.5 hours sleep a day, and I seem to be okay with that sometimes. And then I usually try and sleep in on Sundays till about 9 o'clock, which sometimes works. Not all the time, but sometimes. And so that's usually pretty good. And so I do okay there. Only time I really have trouble sleeping at night is like if I screw up during the show, or if we get hit with a large amount of trolls. That one kind of messes me up, because the hard part about what we do is, and it's been like this ever since I've been in radio, but yeah, you have to try and be as perfect as possible each and every time you hit the air. And yes, we know it's impossible, but it gets frustrating sometimes. It gets frustrating. Thank you, Jenny. I will take that into consideration for future hair cuttings. I'm probably going to cut my hair after Las Vegas. Probably. But then again, I may not. Terry Brown, how are you? See, I used to be like you, Terry. You used to only need 3-4 hours sleep, sometimes 2. And that was literally good enough. I'm not like that anymore. I need a minimum of 6. What kind of dog you getting there, Joe? Blues? Blue Pity? That's a beautiful dog. By the way, tomorrow we will be releasing a new storyline on Canada's Great Unknown. I know a bunch of you, if not all of you in the chat room, have already signed up for that. This one will be on Ouija boards. Ouija boards. Hi, Michael Darling. How you doing? Neil, we appreciate that. Are you Neil or Cornelissen? I would like to know what the Cornelissen Gallery is. I'm going to Google it. All this first. Hold on. C-O-R, Cornell. The 2 L's? Yeah. Miniature paintings. Oh my. Let's go to the gallery. Is this your website? If it is, can I show it on the screen here? Cornelissen Gallery. This is beautiful. Is Cornelissen Gallery and Neil McKay still here? You know, I'm going to show their website anyways. I'll be a rebel that way. Two seconds. Don't give it a name complex, Joe. It's Neil. Is that your website, Neil? Because I would like to show it, if you don't mind. Oh, wow. You guys got to see this. This is pretty awesome. Hold on here. Check this out. right. Let's go to the gallery. Old Masters. I love art. I'm so not good at it, but I love art. 90 millimeters by 67 millimeters. Louis Melendez. Wow. Modern Masters. Wow, look at that. $60 by 72 millimeters. This is gorgeous, man. Oh, that's beautiful. It's awesome. Wow. I love that. I just love that. That's gorgeous too. Oh yeah, Starry Night from Van Gogh. Gustav Klimt. That is wicked. Wow. These are incredible. The girl with the which one? The girl with the pearl earring? Did I already pass it? Frida Kahlo, very nice. Oh man. This is the one painting that freaks me out. I don't know why, but the whole Scream thing totally freaks me out. Look at the train coming out of the fireplace. Oh, I love Salvador Dali. Oh, that is so amazing. Wow. Oh, that's one of my favorites right there. The melting clocks. Oh, that's one of my favorites. Persistence of Memory. I didn't know it was called that. Love Salvador Dali. Wow. I'm just amazed here. These are beautiful. In Old Masters. Hold on. Let's see if we can find it here for Joe. Look at the detail in that. That is just crazy. Wow. That's the one that Joe wanted to see. Yeah, she's beautiful. She is totally beautiful. I better start downloading some of these. Hold on. I'll be right back here, guys. Hold on. Let me just get this in here. To do this here first. So I got to get this going. All right, now we're back. Wow. Joe, I can see why you love this one. I could totally see why you love this one, man. That is beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see Neil's work. Look at that. Neil, is this all your stuff here? Oh, that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Nicole Sakic is torturing me with pictures of the scream. Oh, look at that. That almost looks like a Ukrainian Easter egg, to be blunt. Oh my, look at that. Celestial map. Wow, that's all of the constellations. That's a bunch of constellations there. Wow. That is amazing. That looks like Nicole Sakic's eye. That's beautiful too. Wow. Oh, I love that. I totally love that. Oh, there's another one. That one's beautiful too. That's pretty damn cool. That is gold leaf. Wow. Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing, Neil. Wow. Look at that kitty. Damn it, man. You nailed that. Totally nailed that. Look how tiny they are. That is amazing. Click the image below. Let's click it. Let's see what happens. I'm having a good time here. Wow. God, I thought that was real there for a second, but that's a painting. No way. Dude, this is so impressive. Seriously. So impressive. That is just amazing, man. Oh, thank you for letting us share that. What a great. Oh, so jealous. I could barely draw a stick figure. That is just amazing. Shoot, I'm sorry. I did something rude there for a second. Hold on. Let me go back here for 1 second. I should do this because it's the right thing to do. Oh, stop. I don't know why that's all of a sudden doing that. About. There we go. Oh, it's Nelly. Did I read your name wrong? I've been calling you Neil. Did I read that wrong? Neil McKay? I like the hair. Very talented. Let us get an address for this place. Where's the address? Right there. Let's zoom in on that. Right on Church Lane. That is just amazing. I'll put that. If you guys want to look more on your own, here's the link. I'm just fascinated. Just fascinated. That was just, thank you for the tour. Let's get these started here. Hey, Brazelhoff, I missed earlier. What kind of guitar are you getting? Solar A6 baritone. Solar A6 baritone. Oh, I see what you're doing here. And of course, it's a reverse headstock. Yeah. Of course it is. Painful. Those are such gorgeous guitars ruined by a reverse headstock. Killing me, man. Killing me. You're a better man than that, than being a reverse headstock guy. Oh, my God. Killing me. All right, let's see what's happening right now in the world. They're really invading Ukraine now. Tank movements along the northern border out of Belarus. Them damn Belarusians. I'm watching on Twitter. Nell, I would love it. It's Nell. Okay. It's Nell. I love it. Thank you for allowing me to show that to our listeners. I'm not going to show Brazelhov's new guitar because it's a reverse headstock. Not cool. None of that now. Let's not get political, people. Unless it's against Trudeau. The only thing we allow in here, you know that. Not happy about this. Not happy about this. So now it's Russia and Belarus ganging up on Ukraine. Belarus, just a bunch of chicken shits. That's what they are. I'm sure the people are good. I'm talking their government. Mm-hmm. Brutal. All right. We are done downloading for the night. Tomorrow night on the show, Varla Ventura returns for our Cryptid World. And we're going to have a wonderful time with Varla, as we always do. So I'm very thankful that she is back tomorrow night. Big thank you to Cat Chaser, Jeremy, Dry Toast, John, and Thomas for the amazing super chats. And thank you so much for going out of your way to hang on out with us. And we will ban one more Russian bot before we decide to go. And that's our protest against the Russians for invading YouTube. And yeah, we will head on out into the dusty sunset that we call snow around here. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Good night, everyone.